When you walk into Red Room, the most coveted key in the game, it's a 50 million ruble key. You gain access to it in a secret underground lab. You walk in and there are gun racks everywhere, and you find a stock MP5. That
would be nice. Dude, there are raids where I go in and the best thing in the whole room is a chain link.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to the podcast, the show dedicated to talking about all the Pogcast things in life, like music, content creation, and video games. I'm one of your co-hosts, JesseKazam.
And I'm morbidly obese.
It feels that way right now. I feel it too.
Dude, I just...
Dinner.
Man, caffeine really fills me up. So if I just have like coffee or tea or like a Red Bull or whatever, I'm not hungry until like it was 6 p.m. This first time I've eaten all day long, and I got Subway and I basically breathed it in two gulps of air. Yeah. The meatball sandwich is gone, and now I feel like there's sort of like a I was gonna make a joke, but it's accidentally like timely with like we're not talking about geopolitics.
No.
But I almost made the equivalent of like just off the top of your head, you go to make like a gorilla joke, but within like the 6 months after Harambe, like I almost accidentally just did that.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
So yeah. I'm going to be a little lethargic, lugubrious for a bit.
Lugubrious. Is that a real word, or did you make that up? Lugubrious.
Looking or sounding sad and dismal.
Wow.
There you go.
Wow. Lugubrious. Feeling lugubrious. Yes.
And people say that. And people say that I use the fucking thesaurus.com to write my scripts when I've got these words. All right, dude, I've got them.
It's interesting, like how. Because I literally just did the same thing. I had a morning stream and I made myself a big old cup of coffee and I sipped that throughout the whole stream. I wasn't hungry at all. I ended the stream at 4 and I was like, I'm starving. And we went out to dinner. We didn't eat till like 5:15. And it's like, this happens so much where like I eat so much so fast and then immediately regret it. It's like, why doesn't my brain stop me from doing that? Why is there this war between my brain and my mouth? You know what I mean?
It's hard to beat, a 300,000 years of human evolution. What can you say? You have to. I mean, that's the reason why my cat also inhales food. There are some that you can just like put a bowl of food out and they can just like they'll graze on it. But if I give my cat a half a cup, she'll inhale it. If I give her an entire 27-pound bag, she's gonna inhale the whole thing. She's gonna vomit every 14 seconds. But she's like. There's predators afoot. Even though she's lived her entire life, 10 years or whatever, never touching grass, she still feels like she's going to get eaten by like
too
a
deep
lion.
In the DNA or whatever, right? I guess that it's just like you're hungry and you feel like you haven't eaten in a while and there's a plate full of food in front of you. It's like...
I see Jesse just like...
Dude, just like a freaking animal. Dude, seriously, I ate so much. Oh, and I knew while I was eating it, I knew that I was going to feel bad later.
Yeah. So what's new? Any like news milestones? Anything worth mentioning?
Yo, today during the stream, we hit 100,000 YouTube subscribers, which is pretty pog.
Congratulations.
Thanks, man. Excited to get
You're going to pass me soon?
My little plaque.
You're gonna pass me soon?
I don't know about that,
dude. It feels. Oh Jesus, that was loud. It feels like all my numbers are just frozen,
bro.
Dude, it's crazy. Like I hit 160,000 subs. Actually, I was at 163,000, and then I got one of those messages basically being like, "Hey, we're going through, and like your sub count might go down because we're like removing like dupe accounts or whatever." And it went from 163 to 161. And it's been like that. It's been like that forever. Even my Twitter followers, dude, it's so crazy how like I've been tweeting more than ever, have a ton of engagement and stuff. And I've been at 29,300, 29.3K for like a year and a half.
Really?
It's like, what the fuck is going on?
That's so weird.
maybe I got them all during like 2 big fucking giveaway things,
or
like the
something.
Nvidia. I don't know.
That's crazy. Dude, it's so interesting how it works. Like all through January and for the most part of February, I was just like, whatever was happening, the algorithm was just like vibing with me. Like I was getting 200 to 300 subs a day. Like we were getting good viewership. And I was like, dude, sick. We're going to hit. And like a week and a half ago, I was like, we're going to hit 100K like tomorrow or the next day. And I woke up the next morning and it was just like, and I was getting like 40 or 50 a day. And I was like, what happened? What did I do wrong? You know what I mean? So it's so weird, bro. It's so weird. There's just no, you just can't know. I don't know.
No, I mean,
but we're here.
You'll soon learn what it's like to go from being successful to having a dead channel.
Yeah, that's what happens. It's step one,
Totally.
Get to 100K. Step two, you're dead now.
Yeah, dead channel.
Dead channel. But yeah, man, that's cool. That was nice. How about you? How long you been on? You've been getting some Tarky in? How's it feeling?
I played Tarky so today I did a sponsored stream, played Hunt for a couple hours.
So many people were doing sponsor streams, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how many people were doing sponsor streams. I didn't get drops. I saw a bunch of people who had drops. I don't know if they I mean, I'm assuming that a bunch of people were also doing sponsored things. I know that it was like a big, but I'm like, I get emails every day to do all kinds of sponsor streams, and the games are usually like dog shit.
Yeah.
Mobile, just like infinite runners or whatever, and I have no no motivation to do that. But Hunt was the first one where I was like, this. I played it for like an hour one day.
And then we were talking about it last week with Deadly.
Yeah, and it was cool. So I'm like, yeah, dude, you can fucking. I'll take a little bit of a paycheck for playing a game that is good.
Yep.
That vibes a lot with the community too. So I played it for a couple. I only needed to play it for 2. I ended up playing for like 3, and I was doing 1v3s. I was basically playing solo, and
that's cool.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Felt really good. The sound is good. There's some weirdness that I think I'd have to get used to.
Yeah.
In that it actually almost feels compressed. That
interesting.
Like you can hear things from 1,000 meters away. They're just really muffled, which is realistic. Like you'd hear the low end would be what carries, and the high end, is what gets cut off. It doesn't transmit through the air. But like gunshots that were 20 meters from me weren't loud, weren't that loud, even unsuppressed.
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like it'd be cool if there's a little bit more of a dynamic range.
Yeah.
But I mean, a bunch of people were saying, well, the more you play, you know where everything is, and you get better, and blah blah blah. I mean, yeah, that's probably the case. But,
yeah, for sure.
But yeah, I mean, otherwise, we have been playing Tarkov a bunch. It's actually been okay. It's the last couple of days were fine.
Yeah.
I think I've just been tired from editing this fucking audio video.
I was gonna ask.
It's just been like I get up at 8 and I lie in bed writing a script, working on the script, whatever, until like 3, and then I'll edit from like 3 to 6, and then I stream from 6 to, normally I would, a couple weeks ago I was doing 10, 14-hour days.
Yeah.
Now the last 2 days at least, there were like 4 hours, and I'm like, I'm fucking beat.
You're already beat because of the
those have been long days, but I mean the videos coming along. I'm trying to fill out all of the pieces that are more similar to the videos I've done before, where it's a lot of like either demonstration visuals or like B-roll while I'm talking. But I did set up. I've got one of those like collapsible green screen, like really nice ones.
Yeah.
And then I bought one of those just black like matte backdrop things. So then I kind of like put that over. And I have my other camera, my other light set up. So I'm gonna do a proper like Rembrandt lighting, black background. I have like a lav mic, and I was trying a few. The lav mic just doesn't sound good.
Yeah.
It just doesn't sound as good as this
yeah,
guy.
when you've been talking into that for so long.
Yeah, and I have a lot of noise.
Yeah.
It's, between the computers running, like my space heater and shit. So I think I'm probably just gonna take my Shure SM7B and just have like a table mounted tripod kind of thing. So it'll be still in front of my face, but it won't be this massive thing. I don't know. I just feel like it'll be a little bit more kind of similar to a lot of the video essay stuff that we watch from folks where it just looks more professional, like an interview. I don't have the big ass bulky headphones and all the fucking RGB. It's gonna be so I don't know. It might be 100%. It might be a different vibe, but I don't like. I'm gonna sit down and I have like 20 pages of that I have to basically read the script. So I got to figure out what I'm gonna do as like a teleprompter.
Yep.
Maybe I'm sure there's probably like iPad apps.
Yeah, you can get that stuff. You can get like little like cheap, not like affordable. Like a buddy of mine, the guy that does the true crime YouTube channel, he's got one. It's like it sets on your iPad and it's like a mirror so that you can lay your iPad down flat, like near your camera, and then you can basically look at the camera. It kind of does that same thing because like the news, at the news, it's like a piece of glass in front of the lens, so the news anchors can look straight at the camera. It kind of does that, but it just like clips onto an iPad, and then that way he can look right at the camera and read his script.
Oh hell yeah, because it would be a lot harder to find a mount for like an iPad.
Yeah.
On like I've like the key lights and everything I have, like the stands are like not the bulkiest things in the world. You blow hard enough, you'll probably fucking have the thing topple over. And I don't want to move any of my other shit.
Yep.
Like I literally have, I don't even know if I'm going to be able to show this. I literally got a fucking, look at this.
Oh my God.
It's like 100-foot HDMI cable with like repeaters and stuff built in. So, because I don't want to move this fucking camera. I don't want to move my key light. I don't want to move anything.
Yep.
I have a second camera. But what I also don't want to do is have to fuck around with memory cards.
Yeah.
So I can plug that into I have an A10 Mini, a Blackmagic like video switcher. So I'll just use OBS.
Yeah.
And I'll just, I've got like a fucking 50-foot XLR cable. So all I need to do is just take my microphone and my second camera. It's identical to this camera.
Yep.
And I just like the workflow of being able to hit start recording and having everything go. I don't want to fuck with memory cards, and
I totally get that. Yep.
So yeah, that's all I've been doing. But I'm gonna make sure I do that like one day.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to have different lighting and stuff. I know I'll fuck it up.
In a slightly different position, and yep. 100%.
It's like if I'm working on a song, dude, and I sing like I spend like 2 hours singing like one verse. And then the next day I come in and I start recording it, and like I hit the knob and it's like, it sounds totally different. Delete everything I did.
Yep.
It's got to be in one take, so.
Yep. I'm excited for the video though. I know a lot of people are, and I think it's just going to be good. It's going to be good. But apparently they did like a patch yesterday. It was like
2 days ago.
Oh yeah, you're right. It was like down for like 2 hours or a few. The game was down for a few hours. Then we got some stuff. Some minor stuff. I saw you kind of wrote some of the notes down. They addressed that the quote unquote shotgun bug that we weren't sure, where it stemmed from. Is that, did you do any testing? Did you like hop back in and try and like create it like you did before?
No, not yet. Yeah, I honestly just because I've been so tired, trying to grind XP to get Kappa, and I've been trying to do like one of the weekly quests I had was kill Reshala 5 times over 80 meters.
Oh yeah.
And I ran for like a week and I never found him.
That's brutal.
It was just fucking kind of exhausting.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't really felt interested in doing any testing. I'm just kind of hoping that somebody is like, I experienced it again, and then I'll be motivated to go and check it out. Yeah. But I am really, I'm pleased. It's like always satisfying because this doesn't happen a lot. When I do testing and I come to a totally unique, different conclusion than from like for example, a Rocktix video did.
Yeah.
And then I give the information to Nikita, and he's like, okay, thanks. Historically speaking, it's really common that like a week later it'll be fixed, but with like no explanation.
Yeah.
So I actually fucking went to Nikita, and I was like, great job sorting out the issue, blah, blah, and also, was it related to, what I said? Because I presume that it was an inventory bug that would cause the ammo
to
basically
be there.
get desynced from the server and all the other clients. I'm like, or was it something related to like the damage or the pen or the server rejecting it or blah, 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 hit reg. And he says it was the inventory bug. And I said, oh, great. Hopefully my testing was helpful. And he said, yes, it helped. Thanks. With a big exclamation point.
Nice.
So yeah, I'm pretty sure I was right.
Yeah.
Which is, it's less about like validating but more about like, all right, like I like that I'm onto something. It's being able to confirm that I'm not just
100%
spinning my tires, you know what I mean?
Yep. 100%. 100%. I was super excited to see that they put in there something, like I don't have the tweet up, so I don't know exactly, but they put in there something about like changing scav prone behavior. And I was like, please let them not drop shot you anymore. And they totally do.
Well, yeah. So what it says is they change the conditions under which they will go prone, because they're supposed to go prone. But like Nikita said in the interview, it's supposed to be like over long distances and when they're like in the grass.
Yeah. But
for some reason they were just doing it all the time. So I did notice a few times where actually there was one time, I don't remember exactly where it was. There was one time today where I like aimed at a scav and instantly he was gone. I thought it was the insta crouch, but it was an insta prone.
Yeah.
And then he stood up again. So I'm like, oh, fuck. Because some people were saying that they would prone, but they would stay there.
Yeah.
Which like makes sense. Like that's what I kind of would expect. So I don't think
that's
fixed.
What I'm experiencing, where like if I, push a scav close, it'll still prone. Or I have noticed that it is like more when they're behind cover, but it feels more like they don't prone and then insta stand up. That they prone and then just stay there for even just a few seconds, which I guess is progress, because that's literally, like we talk about all the time, it's the most annoying thing to be like, oh, and then as you're pulling down to them, they're standing back up and you have to pull up and it's ridiculous. But yeah, it still feels like they prone in weird times.
I mean, they also said like a month ago that they fixed the instant crouching, which they didn't. They definitely didn't. So maybe I should just be like, Nikita, all of this stuff is still scuffed.
Yeah, the patch notes for patch 12.12, like in December, was like, we fixed scavs, the bug where scavs would crouch too quickly. And I had never noticed that bug before that day, and it's still every single day. It's like an iframe, one singular frame between a standing and a crouch, and I'm just like, what? But
so one of the other things that I talked to him about not too long ago, because I noticed it and it instantly stuck out to me, and I hope that this was a result of the AI video and the talk that we had. Well, one of the things they mentioned in the patch was like scav. I don't know if it was scav voice lines or what.
Yeah.
But one of the things I noticed back on like last week on the 19th, I was like, I recall during our conversation that we had I recall during the conversation the idea that I had about scavs using the injured voice lines to like communicate their state. Because as a scav, if you get shot and you have like a broken arm or whatever, when you press Y, you're like in Russian, like and I was, I made the argument like that's a really great example of this AI communicating state regardless of language.
Yes.
Just like in Halo, Halo 2.
Yeah, the grunts.
You could tell
and stuff
what
like
the grunts were scared or angry or whatever, even though they were speaking fucking, alien speak, whatever whatever the language is. And I noticed I shot an AI scav the other day, and he was like, ah! And I was like, oh my God. Like he ran behind cover and was like screaming in pain. I was like, oh, like this is amazing. So, and I'm like, did you guys change something with that? And he's like, it's planned. And I'm like, what do you mean? And so I sent him a clip. I'm like, I've never heard this before. I'm like, this has to be new. And he went, oh, yes, that's a new one. Broken hand / leg. He goes, maybe we actually added more than this. I was like, it's so good.
It's
like, that's
great.
Exactly what I was talking about, dude. Like,
that's cool.
So I was just super excited. I mean, again, maybe it's a big fucking coincidence, but
that's
I'm gonna
so
take
funny that he was like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wait a minute, we added that. That's actually really cool. Yeah, more of that is definitely cool. More of that would be appreciated.
Yep.
Another thing, did you see that they nerfed jumping? A lot of people say it was a strength nerf, but it's a jump nerf.
Everybody has been saying whenever I bring it up that it's like you can't jump on certain things in certain parts of the map or something like that. Not only have I not noticed a difference at all, because I don't parkour all over the place, and honestly, I never see people parkouring all over the place. But one of the things I noticed was, you know, when you spawn over by the Ollie and Emercom exfil, when you spawn on that side, you run up that ramp, and then to get into like that garage area, you normally have to like jump onto the pallets, then jump onto the. I literally like jumped over everything onto like the concrete on the ramp. I was like, and this was today, and I was like, everybody's been talking about the jump nerf, and I don't remember ever. Maybe it was just a funky angle, but like I don't remember ever clearing that in one.
That is like, I call it the ice skates. Sometimes you just skate across all the collision boxes or whatever. Sometimes that happens to me on woods if I'm trying to get.
No, it wasn't skating. It was just like a jump. Like it was just a normal jump. It felt like I jumped higher and further than I've ever jumped before. It wasn't like on the mountains and woods where you're like going off, doing a 50-50.
Yeah, they definitely did something. Like I heard Twitch chat saying it. Like there's a bunch of spots that I normally jump up to that you like can't get to now, or you have to get to in a different way. I also saw some people. I don't know if you ever really loot here. I used to loot here all the time when I was new. Okay, so same perspective. You spawn at the Emercom camp. There's the ramp that goes straight up and the ramp on the right that goes up to like the back of Goshen. If you go up that ramp, and as soon
there's a couple of toolboxes.
Yeah, as soon as you come up inside, you take a left. All those shipping containers. There's a forklift where if you jump on the forklift, then you can jump on the sea can. There's a weapon crate up there, and then you can jump to the other one, and there's a weapon crate, and then you can drop down and get to one behind. All of that you're obviously supposed to get to. You can't get there now. I saw somebody tweet. I haven't tried, but somebody was like, "Hey, like." So they did something because like you should be able to loot that, you know what I mean? And then
weird, you can't get up there?
Somebody was saying that they couldn't, so maybe it requires a higher strength than it used to. But either way, it didn't used to take a higher strength. I used to get up there all the time when I was like really, really low strength. And so One Peg was saying it was something, and I don't know, but something about how like additionally, do you know how like you used to be able to jump backwards or sideways and get a tiny bit of extra height? It had, One Peg, I was talking to him the other day. He was saying that they think that was due to like something where your heel wouldn't count. Like if you could get the heel of your foot over something, it would then just bring the rest of your character up. And they like when you're jumping in the air, so they made that flatter. So there were a few places like the USEC stash key. In that building on customs, you used to be able to, if you have elite strength, you could just shoot out the windows and jump in from the outside, but you had to jump sideways. And me and Trey were playing today, and we were trying to get in there, and we couldn't. And so, and we both have elite strength. So something definitely happened. There was an interchange spot I was trying to do during a fight. I was like, I'm a parkour on these guys, and I've made this jump before, and I just couldn't do it. So it's a certain thing. It's definitely not. It's not like crazy. It's not bad. Nothing bad happened, but they just adjusted it. And everybody, of course, then starts to go on their like rabbit trail of like, oh, there was a strength nerf, but it didn't nerf any of the properties of the skill strength. It's just that strength affects how high you can jump. But I think this was independent. They just
so you mean that they changed one or more things, and you mean to tell me that everybody pointed to just one potential, possibly adjacent thing, and said that's the problem.
Yes.
So kind of like when a scav is invisible in front of you, and you know you don't hear the gunshots, even though he's also not visible. You just assume it's an audio bug.
Yeah.
And not
yeah.
Nobody. I said this the other day because I have a bunch of clips. How people assume when they see there are cases where like the player is invisible, but you can hear their footsteps. I actually have a clip from Glorious E's stream where his teammate was invisible, and then they eventually popped up, but you could still hear the footsteps. And it's funny how nobody's like, oh, the fucking graphics engine animation system is bugged. Yep. They just assume it's a cheater.
Yeah.
But you know, if something happens that to where a sound doesn't play, no matter what else is associated with it, it's a sound bug.
And most likely a Steam audio bug.
Oh yeah, I mean, well, what do you mean? Every audio bug is a Steam audio bug because Steam Audio is the audio system that we have, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yep. But I just found that interesting that they did some adjusting.
I'm literally in an offline mode. I'm running over because I need to test this out. I want to go into that back area and see.
Oh yeah, you're pretty close to elite strength though, right?
I am level 47.
I don't know the guy I saw. He tweeted and he added like Tobias, and Tobias was like, "Oh, thank you for the report." So like, but I don't know the strength level of this guy, so I'd be interested to see if you can hop up there. But
yeah, I don't know.
But it's interesting.
Oh yeah. Speaking of sound, I guess there was also something about players falling. And not being able to make noise. I never noticed that.
Yeah,
I never noticed that personally.
I used to use that.
Really?
Many times. Yeah, there was they also patched, so like if you're on the 3rd story of dorms and you run out to the balcony, like, you know what I mean, with the, you know, you go out the door. If you go out the door to the right, you could fall to the 2nd floor and walk into the 2nd floor window. So you could literally get onto, and then nobody would hear you fall.
Okay, then I have died to that.
Yeah.
Once. I remember that.
I did. Oh man.
I just figured I couldn't hear, you know, these gunshots and stuff.
No, yeah. You couldn't hear people drop. I've also like been in Shoreline and heard somebody running above me, and I've been like, I bet he's gonna, you know, like by the sanitar room with the bloody hand on it, right above that there's a hole. I've heard somebody running above me, and I was like, I bet this guy's gonna try and drop on me. And I peek, and you just see him, no sound, and then I shoot him, and I'm like, yep, I play like you tried to play me because you knew that there wouldn't be audio.
Fucking weird. Yeah, I jumped up no problem onto the forklift.
Really?
I'm like, yeah. I don't know. Nothing seems different about the jumping. I'm not saying that they didn't change anything. I'm just saying
so positive stuff is different. But I jump a lot. I do a lot of the like jump spots or.
Yeah, it's probably just that I've never really noticed it. I mean, I'm only ever usually jumping. Usually to get onto like a barrel, so that I can hold an angle, like the ultimate off angle, where it's like. They're going to peek me, but they're going to be at head height when I'm going to be 3 feet higher than that. You know, that's usually when I'll use that kind of stuff.
Which is so good.
Yeah. I mean, that's the opposite of the prone thing.
Yeah. Yep.
It always
dude, the prone thing is back, by the way. I mean, it never really left, but like with the recoil changes, bro, I've been proning so much more.
Same.
It's so good. It just helps with the recoil so much, and
nobody does it.
Nobody does it, bro. Like I was just like laying, like I was underneath interchange. We were in the parking garage, and there were 2 guys, and they split on me, and I just laid down. Like I was behind like a concrete barrier, but like there's no way I could cover all their angles, and they're like running around jumping, and neither of them see me. I just wait one for stop, kill him, and then just get up and kill the other one. It's so good, dude.
Nice.
Proning,
dude. I had my first. The first time ever that I think I got like hunted by a blatant cheater.
Oh.
So yeah, earlier today. Oh my God! Wait, did he accept my friend request or did he deny it? Oh my God, he accepted it.
Put him on blast. What's the name?
Standard edition, level 32.
No, I'm just kidding. No.
See, I don't want to do that because then people will be like, "Yo, that guy you killed, the person you're talking to is Veritas."
Yeah, no, I definitely
stop talking.
Yeah.
What do I say? You cheating, bro? Who's your provider?
Yeah.
What do I say? You offering any services? That's what I've been. Dude, that's what I've been going with lately. I'd be like,
How do I get what you got, bro?
I'm trying to basically, like, I don't know what people say. I need to say the thing that people say where it's like, we both know you're cheating and I'm interested in being a buyer. I have so many messages where it's like, all I do is send, like, you offering any services?
Be and
like never a response.
Ask something about like is what you use undetectable? Because people love to, you know what I mean?
Undetectable. They want to brag.
Yes, exactly. Exactly.
Normally, actually, one of the things I've done is been like, you selling?
Yeah.
And sometimes they're like, what do you mean? And other times they're like,
yes.
No, they never
but
say
here's
yes.
the Discord.
They say no, but a buddy of mine is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm legit, but a buddy of mine. Oh, okay. So it just happens to be the one guy that I thought was sus has a buddy that's okay. Yeah. No. So, but what happened was, did you see the clip earlier that someone told you, like they tagged you in me killing Killa, where he just had his back to me? He was like total Pepega Killa, where he was like in the kiosk area. Actually, no, he was in Idea near, there's like the little playground, little. Yeah. And there's like a half wall. He was in the corner there, but he had like the PP19 or whatever, but with blue tips. And he was just like, just laying into me. And I had a TX. So I'm like, like just trying to click as fast as I can.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden, like he turned and started shooting towards like the cash registers. And I was on the opposite side, like near where the bathrooms are. And he was just walking backwards. Like he pulled like a Tagilla.
Wait, so he pulled aggro off of you? Like while he was killing you, he then swapped aggro?
Dude, I don't know, man. I think he was just fucking confused.
What?
But yeah, you can see in that clip. So, but what ended up happening was...
What the frick? I just clicked on the clip.
Yeah.
He's literally just backing into you. What?
I didn't get a chance to like look at the clip, but like I didn't see anybody. I don't think there was anybody there.
And then you immediately started looting him and didn't die.
No, right. So I grabbed his shit. And then I ran into the bathroom, like the back bathroom in the stall, and I was like talking to chat and like wasn't doing anything. And then like 2 minutes later, I hear fucking sprinting over. Instantly comes back there and you hear like a click, like he's getting the grenade ready. And I'm like,
yeah, screw that, dude.
Yeah, and then so then he killed me.
Are you thinking that like if the game detects cheats, they make like, what if Killa just insta aggroes to cheaters instead? He like pulled off of you or something.
That would be like, a fucking funny anti-cheat.
Did you see that Warzone? Like if in Warzone, if it detects your cheating, it just makes your bullets do no damage.
Nice.
So like there's clips of like Tim the Tap Man getting just like absolute laser beam, pop, 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 and it gives you all the feedback, like the red line and everything, but your health doesn't go down. And so he'll just like zip line in on this guy. This guy's hitting every shot, and he'll just like land right in front of him and just like point his gun at his face and kill him. And the guy's just like, and he just won't die.
Wow, that's really interesting. Because so a lot of people have said like, they've said, why don't they just put like cheaters in their own lobbies, or why don't they just do this and that? And there's so many problems with those things because like, I mean, first of all, if you put them in their own lobbies, they're still just going to be able to farm shit.
Yeah, whoever has more or better cheats will just win and farm the stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, or they all just won't fight each other, and but the problem is like RMT and whatever, and farming money and ruining the economy, and it doesn't solve that. But that's kind of interesting because what it does is it kind of like takes all the power away from them in a way that like makes it's no longer fun. Like a lot of times people cheat. Maybe not in Tarkov. I'm sure there's a lot of people that cheat because they're just shitbags and want to like, they want to feel powerful and they want to like.
But in a game like
you
Warzone,
mad, bro? You mad? But yeah, I mean, I think that's why they all cheat for that kind of thing. They just want to win, right? They just want to feel fucking cool. Whereas Tarkov, there's money and there's all kinds of other shit involved. But yeah, that kind of like, it kind of turns the table on them. Like it kind of says like you can cheat, but you are gonna feel, even if it's once, and then you just figure out you've been detected and you go make another account. You just get the feeling of feeling utterly fucking powerless.
Yes.
Yes. Interesting.
So I just like the fact that I'm not saying it's happening, but the fact that I've never seen Killa pull aggro off somebody else, and he did, and then that was the raid that somebody came for you later. I was just like, what if Killa was just like must kill cheater?
Maybe it's like a genetic sort of thing he got from Tagilla. It was just, later, like type fucking 1 diabetes, late onset.
Dude,
Tagilla's busted.
Tagilla is, well, I think I've heard that Tagilla is actually busted right now, and that
busted, like totally broken, not like overpowered, but like he just will stare at you and heal, and then like run at you and pull out his hammer, and then like sit back down and heal.
But the other day, this was before the patch. The other day, he was shooting me through solid objects. They weren't hitting me, but he was shooting at me through solid objects. You know the that like dumpster that you can like go in and behind by, like you go down stripper pole. Yeah, he's always there. He killed a guy and then ran back there. So I was like in a full sprint. I was like, I'm gonna go get him, because normally what he does is goes back there and heals. Because I knew he just killed a PMC. The PMC shot back at him. I was like, this is perfect, easy Tagilla kill. And I'm in a full sprint, and he's shooting, pop, 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 and the muzzle flashes are following me around the thing. And I was like, what? And as soon as I like crest the thing, I just fall over dead. And I was like, dude, what the hell, bro? My man was cheating.
Dude, nah, it's suppressing fire.
Yeah.
The same thing happened to me too. I was in the new exfil by the medical tent.
Yeah.
The new factory key exfil. I was like back there, and he was fucking spamming through the wall at me. It's actually one of the last clips I have. I'm ending the Steam audio video with like a fucking failtage. And yeah, one of the clips is that.
We had, go back to the cheater thing, so I play with Desmond a lot, and like it's funny, man, because it's it's such a psychological thing where like the cheater thing, we've talked about this at length, we don't need to get into it. Sometimes like people think there's lots of cheaters just because the streamers they watch think there's lots of cheaters, and the streamers play 80 hours a week, and so maybe they do come across more cheaters, or maybe they get stream sniped by cheaters. It's so complicated, but I'm still always very hesitant. And even Desmond, like I know Desmond is solid. Like that man is a god at this game. Like he's already leveled like 66, 67. Like he's insane. We were on Woods, dude. We were on Woods, and like he ran down into lumber at the big gray warehouse, and he got shot at like twice, and he was like, this guy's cheating. And a part of me, I was like, Desmond, I was like, I love you. But in the back of my head, I was like, eye roll. I was like, dude, he shot 2 bullets. Like, you know what I mean? But he was like, this guy's cheating. He was like, just run away. So I started running back, and he breaks away and starts running back. He's healing because the guy shot him in the head. And he was like, yo, this guy's in my chat. And I had Desmond stream up on my other monitor. And I looked at my other monitor. Desmond and I were both alive. And this guy was putting information about Desmond in the chat. His Tarkov name, his KD ratio, his survival rate, and then Desmond banned him. And I was like, oh my God. And then he put something, he was like, I'm just farming Sturman. I won't kill you guys. Chill. And we were like, what? It was insane.
I would have been like, kill me, pussy. Just so that I could get his name and send it to fucking Nikita.
It was freaking crazy, dude. It was crazy. But it was like, how could he be in there if he didn't kill Desmond? You know what I mean? Like if he didn't kill Desmond, he didn't know, because Desmond's name is like Desmond TTV or whatever. But if he hadn't killed him, how would he have known to come into the chat? It was insane.
I mean, the only alternative I can think of is maybe he pulled up his stats the raid before and he was stream sniping, or maybe he saw his stats from the raid before and he wasn't even in the raid.
Yeah, but he did.
But Desmond was like, this guy's sketchy. So then some Reddit edgelord was like, I'm gonna pretend like I'm the cheater.
But he did though. The guy ran away and ran to outskirts, and as he was leaving, mag dumped the same gun that shot at Desmond into the sky. Because he was banned, and he was trying to let us know that he left. Because we were talking about ditching our stuff in a bush, because we were like, we know there's like a cheater on this map. Like, I don't want to die. You know what I mean? But then we were talking about that, and he was like, it was that fight, and then it was in outskirts. It was like, pop, 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 same gun. And then it was just done. We played the rest of the raid out. The guy was gone. He never came back. It was that gun. It was weird, man. It was just freaking weird. But I say that to say that like it's like Desmond plays like by a factor of 10 more raids per wipe than I do and has played the game longer. And it's just like interesting where like, of course you can't always know, but it was just, I went from complete eye roll, like, come on, Desmond, to like looking at this guy in his chat. And I was like, damn, bro, you called that.
Yeah. I mean, like I get that shit wrong a lot.
Me too, for sure.
Just because of how sketchy, shit can be in this game.
100%.
Especially with netcode and stuff. But I mean, I genuinely do think that there's something to be said about like a gut feeling that isn't just the guy shot me in the head or killed me and my buddy with headshots 2 seconds. It's not like bullshit. Like you look at the high top level thing like, oh, we were a trio and the guy headshotted us all within the same second. It's like, I don't, how many clips do I have where I go tick, 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 and I'm like, they think I'm cheating.
Yeah.
Right? Like, but then there are other times where it's like I'm holding the offest angle in the world.
Yes.
Up on a fucking, up on a computer desk in one of the side rooms in labs, and the guy with the giant couch backpack and the wrist tee does the jiggle peek where it's perfectly timed so that he's moving back in the other direction at the exact moment, and they just fucking head tap you, where it's like normal player wouldn't do that. They would run by, maybe spray a little bit to get information. Like nobody is that confident that they're gonna jiggle peek,
exactly,
not even like, but like sidestep and then pre-fire the office angle on planet Earth.
For sure.
Yeah, there's something to be said about having intuition about those things.
100%. And that's exactly it. It's like when you've done 20,000 Escape from Tarkov raids, you've got it. Your gut feeling is going to be a little bit more accurate than the average player's gut feeling. But even Desmond will be a guy to tell you, like we've said before, that he's like, I don't want to do manual reports, because even though I've got a much more accurate gut feeling than most people, we still get it wrong all the time. So it's not like, you know what I mean? I don't want to be in charge of knowing who's banned, but I just was like, man, man, you've played so many raids, and just how it works, and like getting shot through stuff. And
dude, it's crazy how like when you, it's hard to describe. And again, maybe it's in my head, whatever. I would love to put it to the test if I thought there was a real way to properly blind it, to be able to put it to the test.
Yeah.
But like, I can kill a 3-man squad of level 50 something chads that are all like sick at the game, that are better than me at the game. And I fought Axel. I fought Warrun. I've fought Landmark. I fought you. Like, so many people that are skilled at the game.
Yeah.
Those fights feel completely different than sometimes where you're like, it just feels like this person has knowledge,
for sure,
and or abilities that they shouldn't have. And part of it is like a statistics thing. If I got one tapped 1 out of every 500 raids to some crazy shit, like, okay, it's like, maybe that was just a lucky, that was just a lucky thing, right? Because I'm gonna hit amazing headshots 1 out of every 500 raids, but when it happens every third raid, where someone's like, maybe he just got lucky. Yeah, that's not how statistics works.
No, So,
and
it's exactly that. As much as our gut feeling is maybe a little bit more refined because we've played tons of raids, and exactly, we know the feel of a fight. Sometimes, sometimes when I think it's sus, it really is just like, he didn't have that information. That just happened to be the first angle he thought to check, and I was there. You know what I mean? Like, we were doing night raids with Trey today, and I killed a guy, and I was behind cover, and I was like, I think there was one more, and I literally just tapped E. I didn't like hold E to lean and then go back. I just tapped E. I did one of those, boom, boom, and I was like, was that a blob? And I tapped E again, and one tapped a guy, and I was like, oh, that guy didn't see me. You know what I mean? Like, it's a night raid. Like, literally, I was just like, I just looked and I saw a blob, so I shot at it and I headshot him, and I was like, that guy thinks I'm cheating. You know what I mean? So sometimes that's just gonna happen, but there's still something to be said for exactly people like you, people like Desmond, 20, 30,000 raids deep. You're just gonna have those feelings a little bit.
Yeah,
about the fights.
And whenever I say that, like, things feel weird, or that's always like, I'm going to go ahead and say, 85% chance. Even with that dude that came and hunted me down level 32 with just an edgelord name, standard account, that happened to find me while I was in a bathroom, fucking basically AFK.
Yeah.
Ran right to me and started throwing nades and stuff. Even that, I was like, I actually said 100%, and I'm like, 95%.
yeah.
Because you have to be honest, but
100%. Yeah.
Unfortunately, so many people, in Twitch chat, they tend to go with the whole I'm 100% sure.
Yep.
Because the guy couldn't have possibly known I was here, or whatever, and he headshotted me and he had no angle.
Yeah.
And it's like, you can't discount the fact that the box you were behind didn't render in. That your character had the breathing bug where they were breathing super loud, or some other thing. Like, you have to accept that there is, I'm never going to say 100% chance.
And a lot of times it's just regurgitation of, insert their favorite streamer here who might be a, 70, 80 hour a week labs main. Those guys, like we said, have a little bit more intuition around it than the average player. Those guys maybe call cheats and get it right a decent amount of times. You know what I mean? Where it was like, oh, that guy was. And then they just feel empowered to, like, they die on customs. And it's like, dude, cheater, no way the guy was fighting. It was like, it wasn't the guy you were fighting. It was the guy behind you who just finished Shooter Born in Heaven. Like, you weren't hidden, bro. You know what I mean? You were hidden from that guy, but you weren't hidden. You know what I mean? And so it's hard. But, it's whatever. I still play the game a whole lot and don't experience it much. So, I saw you put this on there, and I actually was gaming with Rengar the other day after he had put out the video, so we were talking about the video quite a bit.
Nice.
But his video on basically, like, stomach armor, don't sleep on it, and most of the class 6 armors don't have it. So I was interested to hear your thoughts, because he cited a lot of your science about, like, a lot of the stuff that people don't know about. Like, a lot of people don't know that there's a black limb damage multiplier, and that the reason they feel like people tank arm shots is because it's a 0.7 multiplier, and the people think buckshot is OP is because the stomach's a 1.7 multiplier. You know what I mean? And that's significant, or 1.4 or whatever it is.
They don't know about the damage multipliers, and they also don't know about the damage propagation.
Yes.
Both of which, dude, so Reng's his video, I mean, he's hung out, in the community, but it just happens to be one of those people that there's a million people that, like, partnered streamers come in all the time, they hang out, and usually I just, like, assume I'm following them or whatever. And it was like, oh, I don't think I've ever seen his videos on YouTube, but, and I'm like, shit, he's just one of those people that it's like, fuck, and you see him a million times, and I just never had a chance to follow, never stopped by. So someone was basically like, oh yeah, he made, did you see the video about the, the stomach armor and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, fucking rolling my eyes, because I know, like, nobody does good science videos. Yeah. They all just hurt me emotionally. So I was like, fucking great. Like, here we go. It's going to be another one of those fucking things. And I pulled up the video, and, like, the first couple things he said, I was like, okay. Like, he's saying shit that nobody gets right.
Yeah.
They just ignore the details. And then he started to go in the multipliers, and the blacked out. And I'm like, he's going to fuck this up. And he nailed it. And I was like, oh my God.
Man.
I paused the video, and I'm like, I literally was like, oh, thank you. My arms up to the sky. Like, thank you.
Hell yeah.
And then I hit play, and he was like, and then thanks to Veritas for blah, blah, blah. And I was like, I swear to God, I did not set that up. Like, I swear to God, I did not set that up. I had never seen the video.
Funny.
And yeah, he nailed it. It was just like 10 out of 10. The information, not only was the information right, but it was communicated in a way.
Yep. He did a good job.
Just about how you structure it, the order of the things. Like, some people will just regurgitate information without realizing that, like, this piece is kind of like a little bit of a prerequisite.
Yep.
So, like, You know, that's why I do scripts and I put everything and I'm moving stuff constantly because I'm like, when I talk about this, you're going to be able to digest it so much more if we've gone over these things first.
Yep.
So I'm always just moving paragraphs and bullet points and stuff around. And it was just like, that's what you like. That's a video that I would have made. I was just like, I was proud.
You did a good job. Yeah.
And then later that day, and I'm spoiling a little bit of the fucking video, the Steam Audio video. Later that day, someone was like, "Oh, did you also see the clip when he talked about Steam Audio?" And I was like, and I pulled it up, and it was basically like him just saying, "Fucking Steam Audio, this and this," and I was like, "No, like no." He was so close. Like I thought I had a spirit animal. So then I like literally watched him. A VOD of him watching a clip of like a teammate's clip, breaking everything down. And I just remember being like, here are the 7 things like that he missed and then he got wrong. And then later on he came into chat and I didn't watch the whole VOD. I just watched, the clip. And then I'm like, for context, I watched a little before and a little after. And he was like, oh no, I totally like, after talking to chat and watching it over, I figured out that like, these are all the things I got wrong. And totally like had nothing to do with Steam Audio, and I was like, redemption, like yes, fucking God, but it's a perfect example of like being so sure of something, but then admitting you were wrong, not being afraid to be like I was fucking wrong.
100%.
And then I took that fucking clip. That's why I asked you about that. I took the clip from the podcast last time with Deadly because I'm like, Jesse sums it up perfectly. Like. You just need to hold yourself accountable.
Yep.
And I was able to find a bunch of clips where, I was like, this guy's fucking cheating. And I actually I voiped. I'm like, oh, you fucking cheating, bro? Like, fuck you. Because the dude is pre-firing and shooting me through the wall and everything. And then once I watched it back, I was like, the pre-fire wasn't so much a pre-fire. It was more like a jiggle peek, just firing in a more common area, even though I was on an off angle. He didn't hit me. He was shooting to my left, which was the common angle.
Where you would be normally.
Yeah, and then I fell off and fell back, and then he jiggle peeked and sprayed and hit me a little bit, and then I was behind, the room next to the lobby, across from Red Room. It has like just computers and everything, and the two like glass cubicles. You know how there's like the couch with the suitcase and like that half wall?
Yep.
I was behind the half wall, and he was hitting me in the head through the half wall, but it's like, if you know that the guy fell back there, you're just going to pre-fire the wall. Like,
at around head height. Yeah.
So I just, was like, I now that I've watched this back, like, I think this guy's legit, but I was sitting there yelling at him, berating the dude over VoIP. And I made me look like a douchebag, but like, you gotta admit that shit. Anyway, so this is all just to go back to, I totally forgot we were talking about the stomach armor, all that. But so back in the day, I always pretty strongly held that like I didn't want stomach armor.
Same.
Because you wanted your limbs to soak up all the damage
and not your armor.
Because of the bug, you'd have all that lost damage. So that if they hit you in the stomach 4 times and then they hit you in the chest, if you had stomach armor, the chest shot's going to one-shot you because your armor is going to be scuffed. Whereas if you're full armor and full chest, the armor might block it.
Yep.
But now it's not. Not necessarily the case because it's going to just do a lot more damage. Now you're talking about 1.5 multiplier for the stomach.
Yep.
And that damage isn't. It's actually not totally fixed. The bug isn't totally fixed.
Okay.
Because it used to be that it didn't properly handle the overflow. What the fuck was it? So if you had like multiple blacked out limbs, you would have the damage that would have gone to those things is basically lost.
Just gone. It would divide up the damage by all your limbs, and if the limb was blacked, it was just like that 12 HP. We're just not going to deal to you.
So now where right now is almost kind of like a middle ground, where if you have, let's say, you have multiple blacked out limbs, but your arm is at 10 HP and everything else is full. If you get shot in the blacked out limb, like your leg, then you're still going to lose the damage difference between the 10. Like if you were supposed to take 20 damage to your arm, you're only going to take 10.
It'll black it out.
So you're still losing damage. It's just much less than you used to. So it's not completely fixed. But yeah, so I mean, I totally agreed. It was something I never thought of.
Yep. Because I held that was a very commonly held belief among the people that played a lot, was like, I'd rather, now that serve 12s and CMSs are in the game, because of the way damages work, I'd rather save my armor for only my, most important area, which is your thorax. And then we identified and really uncovered exactly what was happening with the damage bug. And then we talked about the damage bug a lot. And then they kind of fixed the damage bug. And exactly, I had never gone back and then been like, fixing this damage bug, does that mean I want more of me armored? I had never really considered that. And I saw he had a really great thumbnail. I clicked the video and I watched it and I was like, oh my God, especially since I've been complaining a ton about dying to shotguns. And I wear a lot of troopers and stuff that doesn't cover my stomach. And it's like, man, that's crazy. It's a lot of damage.
So overall, I'm proud. There's one more Tarkov scientist.
Dude, he did a great job, yeah.
Because I mean, the more the better, dude. Like like the scientific community of Tarkov for the longest time. Like back in the day, it was Anton.
Yeah.
Like 4 years ago, and then which was like a college. You have the wacky college teacher that's always setting shit on fire. That was the scientific community back in the day. And then I kind of picked up the mantle, but like nobody, there's been a million people who have tried to do science that just usually get so many things wrong.
Yeah.
Historically. So it'll be nice, even if we like disagree on shit, just to have somebody who understands these details to where I don't have to give them a fucking, a course on like, hey, here's why methodology matters and all of these things. Now, if he does something I disagree with, or, maybe I'll come out with a video and I'll get something wrong, and I won't have just some schmuck in the YouTube comments.
Yeah. Being like,
telling me I'm wrong about something that I never said.
Yeah.
And then getting it wrong also. Like that fucking comment that I sent you.
Oh my God.
That giant, like 4-paragraph chapter 1.
That was about the podcast, right? That was on the podcast channel. That was the one where I was like, it looks like he listened to the podcast, but he didn't listen to the podcast.
It was like literally everything
we talked about.
All the things I caveat a million times where I'm like, I'm not saying. People are like, you talk too much and blah, blah. I'm like, no, I have to be really fucking careful about, like, when I say I don't believe X, that doesn't mean I believe X is false. Like, those are two different things. And then, a bunch of the comments are, how can he deny, or how can he say that this isn't the case? And it's like, I didn't, like, fuck, oh my God.
Dude, it's crazy. It's crazy. It makes you want to, like, upload videos in, like, 1-minute chunks.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I mean? So that they can't not watch it all, but they won't. I'm just convinced that people troll around. They look at titles and thumbnails, click on the video and mute them and just type their comment. You know what I mean? Like they don't consume any of the video. But you know what I mean? Whatever, free engagement.
Yep.
So I had, so I've been working with the Brownells guys, kind of like doing some stuff with them. And Baron, who's one of their gunsmiths, I've had him and we've done kind of like a podcast style talk on my channel a few times. And we hadn't for a while. And when I had him on the other day, and we were talking about just like a bunch of the stuff. So he's like a gunsmith in real life and then also a vet. Like he spent some time and did some touring and stuff like that. So I love asking him questions, like, because you and me, like, when you and me talk about realism, it's always so different than the community realism. Community realism is like, this, I don't know. I don't want this key to have 3 uses. And it's like, well, you take ibuprofen and you're fine. We like to like use realism as like a way to ground like fun theory crafting ideas. So I wanted to get his take on things like inertia as somebody who's actually had 50 kilos of stuff on and had to run around in, the Middle East. I wanted to get his take on like a bunch of this stuff and the recoil changes as somebody who's fired his weapon under duress. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like
Uneventful Gaming is usually the one.
Yeah.
He's a homie in both of our channels.
Yes.
He's usually the one that I go to because he's a special forces guy.
Yeah.
And you should see some of the footage he sent me.
Really?
Oh my God.
That's insane. So I wanted to ask him about a bunch of that stuff, and we got on. I kind of went down a rabbit trail in my brain, so I took him down this rabbit trail, and I wanted to see his thoughts. And it was basically, I wanted to hear his thoughts on VoIP, because I was like, of course, VoIP is a video game mechanic, but I was like, I wanted to ask him, I was like, how much do you communicate verbally?
But speaking isn't a video game.
Exactly. How much do you communicate with each other out in the field? And basically, the line I wanted to take him down was, how much do you communicate in the field? How do you communicate out in the field? And I wanted to go all the way deep down to like what you and me talked about of teammate indicators. I wanted to be like, how do you identify friendlies in the field and all the way down, because we had that conversation a long time ago about how that's one of those things where you break the reality to make something more immersive. And it was funny because he was like, we communicate a lot. It's almost all through radios, but like, you have to know where your people are. You have to know. And I was like, okay, well, what are the visual indicators of a friendly? He said, I wrote this down. He was like, the absolute top tier visual indicators of an enemy or a friend is their uniform and their firearm. And I was like, aha, right? Like that's real life. This isn't a video game. Everybody, whether they're Bear or USEC, if they're meta guys, they just run mutants, or they just run HKs, or they just run whatever the flavor of the month is, right? In real life, there aren't, you know what I mean? You're not going to run into, like, especially in the US right now, the ratio of USEC to Bear is insane. So we're all running around in puffy jackets. Running around in puffy jackets and the same guns. And so the way you can see
the guy in Afghanistan, it's a dude in robes with a wooden, AK, furniture fucking Kalashnikov.
Yes. And so I was like, okay. So I was like, let's go down this rabbit hole a little bit of like, how, what do we think about that? And it was like a really cool conversation. And we talked about, Nikita's talked about radios and stuff in the past and being able to like, that's how you communicate, because we had talked a lot about like when Streets comes out, we were just theory crafting a lot about like, man, how sick would it be to run in as a 5-man? You've got one sniper with a suppressed DVL in this window, you've got one sniper in this window, and then you've got 3 on the ground. And you basically, if you've played the map enough, you can like gridlock an area. But how would you communicate? VoIP is a step in the right direction, but if you wanted to do that in game, or if you met up with somebody in game who was trying to accomplish a similar task that you could bring into the fold. So we talked about like the whole idea of radios and logness and stuff.
I wonder how radios, well, yeah, that's a
yeah, I mean, that could be as literally as simple as there's 100 channels, and if it's in your utility slot, it's just like tune into this channel. You know what I mean?
Know how it would work. I'm just thinking like from a practical standpoint, like why? Like to me, that's almost a step in the wrong direction. Like it's going from Discord to then using VoIP to then now using in-game Discord.
Yes, but I want to find somebody in game and then create something with them. Like,
yeah.
You know what I mean?
I
like,
get that. I get that.
Especially if Streets comes out, especially if we start moving towards longer raids, you know what I mean? They think of Smoke, you know what I mean? He would meet up with the guy. It's like, oh, you're doing this, I'm doing this. Let's meet back here, and then we can go into labs together. You know what I mean?
Or
like,
if you hear like distant gunshots, you could be like, yo, I'm pinned down. Can you come help?
Exactly. Yeah. Are you okay? Like that stuff would be sick. I totally get what you're saying, but
you need open world, and you need to be able to get back into the same raid and all that stuff. And then I think that's huge.
But I think that'd be sick. But so then I asked him about like teammate indicators, you know what I mean? And he was like, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. But he was telling me about stuff that they used over there, and it was called Blue Force Tracker. And
oh shit, is that what I wrote?
I wrote Blue Force Tracker / teammate indicator, and then you wrote the Zero Dark 30 thing.
Okay.
But the Blue Force, he was talking to me about this, and basically like in their vehicles would be like iPads, and they would just have maps. And I mean, you could just zoom in, and there were dots where all the friendlies were, because they were all wearing something.
They all have Garmin.
Yeah.
So that was one of the things Uneventful talked to me about. Was a lot of them have like Garmin wristbands that are GPS. They have like grids with like
Yes.
Even if it's just really simple buildings
Yes.
around, like, so you know where people are going, where you're supposed to go. It's a mini map.
Yeah, so you could, so he's like in real life, he's like, you can just go to the truck, pull off the tablet, and see where the other squads are. He was like, dude, it's like video games. He's like, I can press and I can mark and just say hostiles here, and then all the crews, whatever the crew leader guy is, he pulls out his little thing and he can see on the map like hostiles here. It's like, it's crazy. And we were just talking, we were just like going all the way down the theorycraft thing where like maybe instead of teammate indicators close up, it's more of like the far away stuff. Like if you linked up with somebody or if you just came in with a squad and split, you know what I mean? Like if me and Seal came in on streets and we just started running in opposite directions, trying to like hold something down. If he on the way there starts to take contact and I'm like, where are you? And he's like, the grocery store on 5th Avenue. You know, if we're talking streets of Tarkov, what if I could just pull it up and be like, okay, now I have a general idea of where you are. I can get to this rooftop and start to counter snipe for you. You know what I mean? Like that would be sick. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so for sure. I mean, that would be dope.
It was just cool. It's just cool to like hear about how realistic a lot of that stuff is now. You know what I mean? Like we had mini maps in Call of Duty, you know what I mean, in 2003 when we were playing Call of Duty 4, or Call of Duty 3. But now it's like that. And I just think that could be really cool. Once again, like you said, predicated on like open world or at least bigger maps. You kind of have to have
because right now
that.
There's no reason to ever split up.
Exactly. You're exactly
right.
I mean,
I'd be all for it. You know, if as soon as the game has reason to split up, then it's like fucking put it in the game, you know. But it's like one of those things. Like before then, it would just be kind of a cutesy.
Right now, it would be like the rangefinder, where it's like cool, but
I use the rangefinder for testing things, and that's it.
But because the rangefinder isn't super useful for two reasons. One, the maps are too small for the most part, and two, you can't put it in your utility slot. And I just forget to spend 8,000 rubles on one every raid. You know what I mean? Like I'm just not gonna do that. Let me put it on you where the compass is. Anyways, yes, as the game starts moving that direction, I mean, like some of the most recent stuff, you know, like Nice Guy did a video recently about like what is streets gonna look like, what is open, you know what I mean? And he basically piecemealed all of the most recent information. Of course, he qualifies it with like some of this information we got 2 years ago and it may have changed. Some of this information we got recently, but if you gather all the things they've talked about streets, it's going to be bigger than all the maps we have right now combined. That they're hoping to put out part of it next year and have upwards of 17 or 18 expansions to it. Nikita was talking about going street by street potentially. Like it's going to be a big map. It's going to be, and so I just man, I want that world so much. You know what I mean? I want that. I want to use the rangefinder and hit 700-meter shots with my DVL. I want to be able to split from my squad, you know, a freaking quarter of a mile away and pull out my Blue Force tracker and see where he is and move to a place to support him. I want to be able to find people in raid. It was like we talked about with Deadly. VoIP didn't change Tarkov. It gave you an optional tool to enhance Tarkov if you want. Radios, that kind of stuff. If you want to be solo, if you just want to grind loot, if you just want to grind PvP, you can. But it just gives you the, you know, go be Smoke, go be JLK, go write these stories and do these things if you want to, but you don't have to. And I just want more of that so bad.
Agreed. And now what I think is interesting, this is going to be one of those predictions that we'll see if it holds up.
Yeah.
But I think this is where like we're right on the edge where the fucking like realism chads that just love to get rock hard for everything being just fucking no, dude, it needs to be hardcore and realistic, and where it's like, okay, well in 20 years the shit you see in COD with pulling out a laptop predator drone, it's gonna like, it's like that. I mean, that stuff
is real. Yeah.
So, but I think you're going to see them be like, oh, well, it has to be realistic, but like not just realistic. Like it needs to be, you know, like it can't make anything easier. You know, if it's realistic, it needs to be like hard or whatever.
Yeah.
It's going to be a total, like.
I know what you mean.
It's a total change, I guess, of attitude for a lot of the people that have been talking about that. Yeah, it's I don't think it's going to be not that realistic. I don't think it's going to be like that, where suddenly they're going to be reasonable about like, oh, well, it's not about realism. It's like they want a very specific kind of realism.
Yes.
That is, I guess, like 2014 warfare or something, and like, you know, but yeah, I don't know. We'll see. One of the things. Sure. Have you ever seen Zero Dark 30?
Yes.
So that's the movie with, I forget all of the actors and actresses except for Chris Pratt.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was like. Is that the one where like Chris Pratt was kind of just in there?
Like the last 20 minutes or whatever.
Yes. Okay.
But basically, it's all about finding Osama bin Laden and eventually like the raid where they kill him. I think there were multiple movies actually, because I watched that again, but it's been like 10 years since I watched it.
Yeah.
And I remember I have a very specific scene in my head for when they like enter the compound and kill him, and this was totally different than what I had in my head, so I must have seen another movie.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know, but one of the things I think we've talked about and they've talked about before, and it's also like already in the game but just not properly done, is when you watch the fucking night raid on his compound, they've all got the IR lasers that are only visible under
under like nods.
Under nods. They're all using the GP NVGs too, which is
so sick, dude.
Yeah, so fucking rad. But like, here's where I think this is the perfect marriage of realism versus video game mechanics. Imagine if your teammates, the people you squatted up with, all had green IR lasers, and all of anybody else, any other PMC would have red lasers.
Yeah.
So it's not that you can choose your color.
Yeah.
Because that's like armbands where everybody would use whatever looks cool, you know, but it would still be ambiguous. But it would almost be a way to, you know, that would be the artificial part, is that it just so happens your teammates have one color. But I feel like that would be a really cool, even if it was maybe just night raids or whatever, to be able to say, like, if you're at the top of the metal stairs outside of dorms and your buddy's going up the stairs and he's about to peek, when you see the green laser, it's like, oh, I know that's a friendly.
Yes.
As opposed to a red laser, you instantly can be like, oh shit, you know, even if you're blinded by a flashlight or whatever.
Yep.
I don't know. I feel like that would be really cool. And they already have the lasers. They just don't work under nods.
Yep. Dude, 100%. I think things like that, like I was talking with somebody else in chat and they were saying that overseas, what they do to, identify friendlies is like he was like literally he was like the MS-2000 markers that are in Escape from Tarkov. He's like, we just Velcro those to our helmets and pick a color. You know what I mean? And it's like, that's how we know. Like they strobe. And I was like,
and it works in real life because like the Taliban isn't using fucking strobe
fast
markers.
MTs. Yeah, you know what I mean? I was like, give me that. I was like, it's so funny because that's like a real thing that people would freak out about. But like,
and that's what I was saying.
There's guys clearing buildings right now looking for their teammates' head strobe because that, you know, like, you know what I mean? Like right now. And it's like, that would be sick. Make me, you know what I mean? Make it, you know, put the impetus on the duo or the trio. You have to buy the marker and attach it to your helmet. I would buy that every raid if it meant a 57% reduction on, is that you, jump, crouch, because that's so much more realistic. Lay prone, spin around, do a 360.
Yeah.
Like if I knew that I could do that less, I would pay the 8,000 rubles a raid and slap that thing on my helmet, turn it on to either a color or whatever. That would be so sick, dude.
No, I agree. And the only people that are against that are, like I said, the ones that normally would be all about realism. But in this case, it's like, no, it's so much harder to have developed this arbitrary communication style that only works in Tarkov. Like, oh no, dude, we know all the call outs and we're able to communicate via Discord and all kinds of shit. I know what my guy's wearing and whatever. And it's like, good for you.
Yeah.
I don't like, just because you developed some weird arbitrary system that works in this one game, but they want it's almost like they want to be able to say, like, we developed this one thing, everybody else should have to do that too.
100%. We adapted to something broken, and we liked the way we adapted. So instead of fixing it, everybody should adapt the way we've adapted.
Yeah, dude, why don't you just learn how to fucking communicate? You don't need teammate indicators, dude. Just learn how to communicate.
Yep.
Okay, learn how to communicate.
Just create an Excel spreadsheet with the call-outs, every single hill and rock and nook and cranny with the call-outs, study it for 300 hours, and then play with the same people.
We've done 1,000 raids. We went through fucking basic together, dude. Yeah. We know everything. Yeah, I don't know.
Imagine killing one of a squad and then swapping out your helmet if you were a solo.
Yeah.
Like, they turn the corner and they're like, wait, and you're like, like, that would be so sick. That would be so sick. Oh, man. I don't know. Anyways, it was just like, and what was so validating about having that conversation with Baron was that, like, he is the perfect person to talk to about that, because he's attracted to this game because of its realism. He's a vet, he's a gunsmith, but he's like reasonable. He's like, yeah, no, that would be a great way to simulate that in game, because like I said, he's like, we did that kind of stuff overseas. You can't do that stuff in a game, but if we did it like this, then it would kind of be more like how we did it. And I'm like, yeah, I love talking to you about this kind of stuff. You know what I mean? Because nobody can tell him he's freaking wrong. You know what I mean? Like, of course, his experience in the military is not identical of everybody's experience. Nobody's ever saying that. But you can't, you know what I mean? Like, he's got infinitely more experience of military than I do. And so when I get to talk to somebody like this and he's like agreeing with and like expanding on everything I already believe about the game, I'm like, screw you guys. Like,
I mean, he understands the fundamental principle of it's not about being realistic. It's about, like, immersion is you're immersed when either things are realistic, like directly, or when you're able to abstract something realistic with, a game element, like a UI that tells you have a bleed, right? Yes. Like, you don't get that in real life. You just feel warm and maybe a little wet on your leg, and you realize you got shot.
You're bleeding.
I mean? Yep. But yeah, I mean, there's so many little things that, I was picking up on when I was watching the movie, just like how dudes are moving. And as soon as like one guy holds an angle, another guy just is standing behind them, taps him on the shoulder just to move. And it's like little things like that. No, you want to be able to like hit F1 to mumble, and you're going to be like, what about command? They just left us. It's like, yeah, anytime I mumble, that means, this or that. It's like, no, fuck that, dude. Like, make it so that I can, like, have the game give me the tools I need to do the shit I want in the way I want. I don't need the game to give me every solution. But like, 100%. It's just like having voice commands and having, when the voice commands do like 80% of what you want, there's nothing worse than when you want to do the other 20% and they're not there.
Yes.
Or
there is a voice line you want, but you don't know where it is on the stupid menu, and you're like, the guy's being weird, and you're like trying to find the stupid thing.
Or like half of the voice lines are kind of one thing, and half of the voice lines, like half of them are like, what? Or what the fuck is wrong with you? Like, no, I'm trying to say, like, repeat. I didn't hear you. You know what I mean? You're like, fuck you. And you're like, wow, Jesus, no, I didn't mean that. Sorry. So you have to like shake your head and be like, negative.
100%.
Oh, God almighty.
100%. Yep.
So I have to, a couple other things I wanted to bring up. One, I've been paying a lot of attention to, whenever I get in fights now, I think about like, how did skills affect that fight?
Yeah.
And I mean, again, this is all anecdotal.
For sure.
But it was, I was trying to be honest and figure out like, okay, was this relevant? Was that relevant? And there's been a few times where like I've heard somebody that maybe they were 40 meters and maybe I wouldn't have heard them if I was level 1, but it's like hard to know. I didn't have a rangefinder, or whatever. But what I have found is, first of all, like I haven't found any real solid cases where I'm like, ooh, strength fucking won me that one or whatever. But I have had a bunch of instances where it seems like people heard me way before, whether they heard me or they saw me, and I just outplayed them or I outshot them or whatever, where it was like, I even have like a couple of parts in my video just as B-roll when I'm talking, where it's like I fucking run, there's a dude like hiding in the corner and I can see him on my screen, but I'm not paying attention. I'm just running. And then all of a sudden, at some point, he starts shooting me in the back, and I just 180 and fucking kill him faster than he could kill me. And it was like, the dude heard me from a mile away. He saw me from a mile away, and it still didn't win in the fight.
Yeah.
You know, maybe if he had just one-tapped me in the head.
Yeah.
But then it's like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think that a couple of seconds or the 10 meters or whatever would have made a difference. He's probably good enough to have done that
1 second later.
Yeah. So, but yeah, so haven't quite had my opinion on that changed.
Yeah,
yet.
I think
I'm still open to it.
Yeah, I think what sold me, or what moved the dial for me the most, was just like when we were talking about how I feel like our brains ignore so much more than perception would help. Like, you know what I mean? Like we were saying, like, how many times are you in Discord with a buddy, you're talking, you're both running, you're both full sprinting, and your brain kind of just like subconsciously pushes out that little bit of audio that you heard. It was a bush.
And Twitch chat, it's like, you saw him, you heard him, like you did.
Yeah, you thought it was him, he thought it was you, and then you both die. And it's like, meanwhile, Johnny's seventh raid, he's scared out of his mind. He thought he heard somebody a half hour ago, so he proned in a bush, was waiting, and then he hears you guys, you know what I mean? And he just shoots you, you know what I mean? So it's like, that's kind of where I'm at, where I was like, especially with the numbers of like how little it affects, I kind of am indifferent. I am very much so in the camp of like, I like the concept of like the RPG mechanics. I like that maybe my dude can run a little faster. It makes sense to me that after 1,000 raids, I could haul this 40 kilo kit a little bit farther. You know what I mean? I'm a little bit better shape. Like, it would go either way. If they deleted the perception skill from the game, I don't think I would notice.
And welcome to where I've been this whole time, where people are like, it's broken. I'm like, what are you seeing?
Yeah. And so
what do you mean?
So if people are just like not cool with one of those things you can learn to do better is hearing farther, I get it, because you can't really learn to hear farther in real life, whatever. So if they took it away or if they nerfed it, fine. If they left it in as it currently is, I think that's kind of fine too. I think I die way more often because I'm an idiot than because Johnny heard me 2 steps farther away than he would have. So I think, that was just, it was like, man, there's so much other stuff going on. Like if Elite Perception accounts for one of my 1,200 deaths this wipe, I'm just not that mad about it. You know what I mean? Like,
you'd have a hard time. You'd have a hard time even demonstrating that.
Yes,
too.
that
like,
I
you'd
knew
have to have
it
somebody
was.
kill you, know it was you, come into your chat and be like, dog, I saw you. I had my rangefinder and you were at 51 meters away and I'm at level 46. So, when I did testing, I know that I could only hear you within 42 meters.
I would have to be not talking to
you
chat.
By one bullet.
I would have to be not talking to chat. I have to be uber focused on the game, not hear him. He hears me. So it was just, I get you. I get you. That would be, man, if I was Nikita, I would troll so hard. I would leave perception. I would just turn this skill off. I would leave the progression of skill points and I would leave it in the skills menu and I'd turn it off and I would see how long, you know what I mean?
But then, somebody would make a video that was like exposing how the skill is broken. And like the one guy would do the video, the clickbaity video, be like, I tested it and it's fucking broken. Everybody complained to BSG, so they fix it. It's like,
true. And turn it off and on every other day for like a month and just see what would happen, dude. If anybody noticed, that would be funny, bro.
Dude, we were talking about this before when people were saying, like, why did they when they added binaural sound, they did the first iteration of Steam Audio, why did they even add a checkbox? It should have just made it, and I was like, well, because they're cowards and they didn't have the confidence that they wouldn't fuck it up, basically. Which, okay, fine. Like, I obviously don't mean that they're cowards, but I'm like 85% joking. I do kind of mean, like, clearly I think they were like, we're not sure if it's going to be fucking busted or if it's going to cause performance issues or whatever. But what they could have done, and what I kind of feel like they should have at one point, was like, just turn it on for everybody and don't tell them, or get, like, that's the way that, because that's a blinded test. right? So you'd start to see if all of a sudden 30% of the community was like, did they do like sound seems a little bit better than before? You'd be like, aha. Now you can tell the difference between above and below. And dude, when I was recording some B-roll because I talked about the face shield repair bug and that whole thing as just another example of like a thing that for 2 years was this urban legend that everybody was convinced about. And I could not buy anywhere. I didn't have any broken face shields. I ended up finding one busted Kiver face shield on the market that was damaged enough I ended up buying a shit ton of like Fast MT face shields and then realized like you can't buy the face shields unless they're new from Peacekeeper. So I'm like, fuck, I just spent like $2,600 to buy like 2 Fast MTs and I can't buy any of the face shields that are broken for this demonstration. So I bought a Kiver and I went in and it was fucking pouring rain. And I had a Kiver on, and I 99% of the time I'm wearing Swordens, even if I don't wear a helmet. And I ended up just completely outplaying, decimating this dude who was a level like 47 over by Old Gas on customs, where I was running from Old Gas to where that little like the bridge, the train is, the little overpass where there's like a plank down to like a flipped over. He was up there, and I was running back to the bridge. He shot at me. And I like blind fired over the thing. And then like I went underneath and I could hear him perfectly above me going to the right. So then I turned around and then like just point fired under the train because he couldn't hear anything. And it was like, I guarantee the guy's perception skill, you know, he's similar level is probably pretty similar to mine.
Yeah.
But it was pouring rain, fucking lightning and thunder. And I had a Kiver on, and I was able to note the vertical, horizontal audio perfectly, you know, and it was like, you could try to argue that, you know, it was my perception that made me hear better than, it's like, no, it was probably just like game sense and paying attention to the sound and knowing how to localize a little bit better and experience. The guy didn't even get a shot off on me, and I was like, pop, 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 you know, and took him down. But it was like, I want anybody to watch that. And be like, there's no vertical audio. It's impossible to have vertical audio in Unity. I have a dozen Reddit. I screen, dude. This video is just full of.
Perfect.
I say a thing that I guarantee if I didn't show screenshots of, people would accuse me of strawmanning. And it's like, look at these 27 comments from 3 days ago on Reddit and then YouTube of people being like, vertical audio is impossible. You can't have it in Unity. It doesn't exist in Tarkov. Blah, 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 blah. You can't do it. And it's like, so then why is it when I'm standing here and a guy's walking above me in this overpass,
you immediately know?
Is it in my head that it's clear as day that he's above me? And if I were to show somebody, which I do in the video, I basically say, what sound do you hear? And I don't show them what they're looking at. I don't give them map context. I don't give them the ability to know what's going on. It's not like, because you could argue that you only knew he's above you because he couldn't have been below you.
Yeah, because game sense and the context of the fight. That's my favorite thing. I'm excited to see the video for the people who were anti-Steam Audio, who took the blind test and chose Steam Audio every time.
Yeah.
Which was like everybody.
It was ridiculous how good everybody was, especially the people who were like, no, I can't localize with it. And there were so many people that would get 100% right with Steam Audio, and they would do worse than just random guessing. If I give them 4 options of in front, behind, above, and below, it all sounds the same. And it would be like, sometimes they would say above or below, or like it was basically like a roll of a D4. And it was, you know, they got like 33% right. It's like worse than chance. If someone was just guessing, if I was just rolling a D4, that would get it right more often. But that actually is a good segue into the last thing that I want to talk about that I noted, because I had gone into Finest XI, you know, another content creator, homie, musician, cool guy, and I went in and resubbed to him for like was my 3-year resub. And, you know, I've been supporting him and a bunch of other, like, you know, smaller streamers for a while now. and I almost never like hang out too long. I go in, I say hello, I resub, and then I like got to get back to work, got to do whatever I'm doing. But I'm like, oh, you know what? I should give him the audio test because he's like, he just got out of a raid. He was just kind of shooting the shit. You know, I'm like, oh, you know what? Fuck it, I'll do it. And when I gave him the audio test, well, before that, I watched him do a raid, and I was like, something's fucking weird here, dude. Like, something is weird. And then the first thing that happened was I gave him the test, and you know, he did really well.
Yeah.
And then I'm trying to remember like the order of operations. And then he was like, "Oh, okay, that's cool, man. I'll have to try with binaural sound on." And I'm like, sick. So I was excited. He turned on binaural sound, and then he played a lighthouse raid.
Okay.
And first of all, this was like 2 days ago, so just right after the patch.
Yeah.
All of the houses on Lighthouse were like blue. Like they looked like they all got painted with like a dark blue. Like the textures were just not applied.
That was so weird.
So of course we're all joking about like, oh, Steam Audio broke like the textures on your, you know.
Classic. Yep.
I don't know. I mean, for all I know, they did somehow. I have no fucking idea.
Yeah.
But then also, the sound was terrible. I was like, dude, what the fuck? Like this is.
Oh, really?
I was like, dude, do not judge like binaural.
Yeah, based on
like this is terrible. But then like he was like engaging people and shooting them and having no problem. And I was like, wait a minute. Like something's up here. And of course I have my OBS up because I was recording his screen because, you know, anytime I get feedback or whatever, you know, clips. And I was like, dude, something's wrong here. And he went to a factory raid and it was like wicked scuffed. And I'm like, dog, something's fucked up. It might be like your audio driver misconfigured along with Tarkov's Steam Audio. Like maybe we just discovered like an actual real use case. Like maybe this is what a lot of people are talking about when they're like, I can't localize. So I was like, oh shit, like maybe something's broken because it was super scuffed. And then I was like, but he was not having trouble. And I'm like, wait a minute. And I looked at my OBS and I looked at the mixer and you could see the left and right channels were even the whole time. I'm like, dude, is your stream in mono? Because an HRTF over mono, it's like the most god awful.
Yeah, that makes
it's like total
sense.
Like fucking phasing reverb. Like I'm like, dude, this is terrible. And everybody else was like, dude, yeah, I don't know, this is weird, you know, kind of, but like not really. Some people were like, I don't know, it sounds fine to me. And I'm like, dude, your stream's in mono, bro, 100%. And he was like, I haven't touched anything since I got my Go XLR a year ago.
What?
And I'm like, I guarantee you it's in mono. So first of all, when he used to have, I think, his microphone plugged into whatever his Go XLR input is, so it used to be mono. So first he went into OBS and looked, and it had the checkbox for mono in the advanced audio settings. And I was like, the fact that I could identify in exactly the way, I'm like, this sounds like binaural over mono. So that's one thing that was like,
that's insane.
Another pat on the back, like I know what I'm fucking talking about when it comes to
audio.
You know, that like this really specific kind of obscure thing. I was like, this is what it sounds like, dude. And then after that, he then went into another factory raid, and I'm like, dude, something is still fucking wrong. It sounds totally scuffed. And he was like, nah, dude, I think it's fine. Like, I think it's okay. Like, it's a little weird. I got to get used to it. But like, you know, like that scav yelling and the footsteps, it's to my left. I'm like, dog, no, it's to your right. Like he was looking in the opposite direction. And there'd be times where like I would hear gunshots to his left when there was a wall there, and you'd see the bullet holes hitting on the left.
Yeah,
that would mean that it would have to have been to his right. And I'm like, your audio is backwards now. Like, what the fuck is going on? And we went around trying to figure it out. And he was like, dude, it's fine for me.
Yep.
So I'm like, okay. It has to be like there's something that has to. So we walk through his whole audio setup. Like literally, I'm like, check this, check that, check this. And I'm like, and so one of the things he was saying was that I'm like, dude, it has to be your connection from your gaming PC, like to your stream PC. because I had him pull up a browser window on his gaming PC and play a song.
Oh.
That was like switching between left and right, and it was backwards for me and not for him. I'm like, so I figured out, like, based on how the GoXLR handles routing multiple, whatever. Short story, like long story short, we ended up figuring out that his headphone cables were backwards. But then he has a hum reducer, which I don't know if you've ever had one of those hum eliminators, but most of the time they have a left and right input and a left and right out. So he had one of those like aux cables that got split to a left and a right. That was backwards. So what was happening was he was flipping it backwards to go to the game PC, which is why it was backwards to the stream, but then his headphones were backwards, which corrected it to his headphones. And it was in mono.
Oh my God.
So nobody would have known it was backwards because it wasn't mono until we undid the mono. And then we found out that it was backwards, but it was flipped for him. And I like figured all this stuff out.
Oh
and
God.
So for over a year, he had been streaming, and all of his YouTube videos have been in mono. Not a single person told him. I was there for 10 minutes and I debugged 19 different. It's like,
and it wasn't as big of a deal because he didn't have HRTF on. And then when he turned it on, it made mono sound terrible. Is that right?
For me, because I knew what.
Yeah.
But you know what? If he had done that, the stream never pointed out that his shit was in mono. They never figured out that like the sounds weren't coming from the right location. They just, for a year, nobody said anything. And it's not like he has 2 viewers. Like, he's got enough people in his community that I'm, like, ashamed that nobody fucking said anything.
Bro, that's crazy.
Just, more proof. And these are the people that tell me I'm wrong about audio. And they can't tell that that a stream is in fucking mono. And then...
That's so weird.
But, yeah, but here's the other thing. Like, if I had never pointed out that the mono issue, everybody watching would have been like, dude, binaural is shit. It sounds terrible. And that would have been their conclusion.
Yep.
So it's just like,
I
spent 20 minutes in our boy's fucking Finest XI's stream.
That's insane.
And it's the most scuffed shit I've ever seen in the very specific way that he would never know.
Yeah, because it was working for him.
Yeah, and look, when you're editing your highlights, you're just scrubbing through until the beginning and the end.
100%.
So he's like, wait, that would mean that all my videos, and he pulled up like a video from like a year ago, and he's like, oh my God, it's all in mono. And I was like, I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, sorry. I just like turn your whole fucking shit upside down. But
insane. That is insane, bro. The fact that something got flipped for everybody and then he flipped it back for just himself is insane.
And I mean, and he's one of the few people that like I would trust to figure that stuff out. He was just on the other side of it. So and I've had the backwards thing a million times before. It's just so many cables and they don't have like L and R.
Dude, and audio is just insane. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's easy to mess something
I don't blame him, but it's like, so then you just insert random Joe Blow streamer. They're never going to fucking figure that shit out.
Yep.
Like he was one of the few people that I've actually talked to about GoXLR and multiple PC stuff. And I think he has a degree in like audio engineering.
That's cool. That's
so like I could actually like talk to him about this stuff.
Yeah.
And both of us were confused for a bit, but we ended up figuring it out because we both, know what we're fucking talking about.
Yeah.
But I just remember at first he was like, dude, but it's connected with the HDMI. Like I'm getting audio through my capture card. I'm like, I'm telling you that you can't be. Sure, there's like probably rare cases where audio is flipped with HD, but I'm like, you gotta have another. So every piece of evidence, the software debugger is telling me every piece of evidence is pointing to the fact that your audio is not coming over HDMI. And then he ended up looking around, and I was like, look in the back of the GoXLR and tell me what's plugged into the line out. And he's like, oh, it's an aux cable, and he like followed it to like the hum reducer, and then followed the hum reducer to like the output of his game PC. And I'm like, that's it. I'm like, that's it. I fucking knew it. And then he's like, wait a minute, unplug the thing. And then all of a sudden we were watching like this. There's a YouTube video that has like a left and a right speaker, and it like plays in the left and it vibrates and it plays in the right. And all of a sudden he like flipped it and it was right. And I'm like, it sounds right. And he's like, no, dude, it's backwards. And I'm like, your headphones. I'm telling you, your headphones.
It's got
and he was like, fucking whoop, and it was like, yeah, it's good.
Dude, that's so crazy. You know, I've actually had that happen to me live where something happened between me, Twitch, and the viewers where, like, in the middle of a raid, my audio flipped on Twitch's end. All my viewers, the audio was flipped, but it was fine for me.
It was probably like your audio driver like crashed or something, and because that shit happens to me all the time too. Every now and then I'll have like an audio driver crash and just won't get any sound. You have to like disable the device and re-enable it. Well, it works.
It literally all in the same raid. Sound got flipped for all my viewers. Like, I was one of those times where I was like holding an angle. I was like, chat, was he like, he's over there to the left, right? And they're like, no, he's to the right. And I was like, no, he's to the left. And they were like, no, he's to the right. And so then I had my buddy sit next to me and comm, and then I had Twitch clip it. And I watched the clip back, and in the clip, it was flipped for me. It was showing like it was the wrong side. And then while I'm watching the clip, Twitch is like, oh, and that fixed it. And I was like, no, it didn't fix it. I'm watching the clip, and it's just reversing again.
That's exactly what we did. He had to pull up his VOD, and he's like, why is my VOD backwards? I'm like, I know, dude. Like, that's exactly, and then you went through the same thing.
And then on my way out of that raid, chat just goes, oh, it's fixed. And I had sealable comm again, and they're like, yeah, it's fixed. And I was like,
that's wild.
What? Like, I was like, it had to be Twitch or some weird audio. But for me, it was fine the whole time. And for all my viewers, it was flipped for like 10 minutes. And then it flipped back. And everybody was just like, I don't know, man. Dude, audio is a whole new world, man. It's insane. But that's so funny that you were able to identify that. Oh, my God.
And all it takes is like...
That's always how it is with audio stuff, bro. I mean, countless nights when we were traveling, man, we were up until 2 a.m. just staring at the soundboard. You know what I mean? You're just hoping that this gibberish turns into English. You're hoping that the 400th time you look, you find the cable that's backwards, and you do. And you're like, we've been here for 6 hours. How did we not see that? It's just, that's always how it is with audio. It will make you pull your hair out. And then when you find it, it's like, plug the thing in. And you're like, how did we miss that for 6 hours? It's just,
dude,
I'd
be willing to bet that it's probably like what it feels like to be like a really good mechanic.
Yeah.
Like debugging either audio issues or like software issues. I've always wondered, I'm like, is this what mechanics do?
Yeah.
When you're like, I have a weird noise, it's like, do they have a way, like the equivalent of setting a breakpoint? Like in code, I don't know if you've ever like written any code before, but you can, in a lot of different development environments, you can like click on a line of code and add a breakpoint. And then when you hit play and you run the code, what happens is it gets to the line of code and the software stops.
Oh, interesting.
And you can like print out like what's the value of the variable, what's
at
X?
This point.
And that's when you can see like, oh, the value is like null, or it's
very
garbage.
Yeah.
So that's how you can then figure out. What you can do is you can step through the code one by one and say, go to the next line.
Yeah.
Go to the next line, and then you go to the next line, and the program crashes, and then it's
like between here and here is where it is. Yeah.
And I just wonder if there's like the equivalent of like, I'm sure.
Yeah.
They can go put in like a fucking. Those little, those
things that you
the little defibrillator things.
Yeah,
that gives you the wattage.
Hook it up to the flux capacitor and works every time. That's super.
God, that makes me just want to I wish I could just have the fucking code for Tarkov. And I don't even know like in Unity.
Yeah.
I know a lot of it is like you write scripts, and I just started with the Steam audio project I've been working on. I just started to write a little bit of C# and messing around. But a lot of it is like with Steam audio, I didn't have to write any code. I dropped the thing in, and the whole thing is like a checkboxes, sliders, and drop-down menus.
Yeah.
So I just wonder how it is like debugging that kind of shit. But just to like. You probably would have to at like the bare minimum, you could put in the middle of lines of code, you can say log, and what it'll do is it'll write to a log, like when you open up your console and you used to see like all of those errors, like that's all someone logging something somewhere, whether or not it's Unity or devs, and it's like one of the really naive, like usually the last thing I would do when I'm like I cannot figure out what's going on, I would put like, you know, Mike log line 1 with like 20 asterisks. And I would put like 2, line 4, line 7, all the way through all these different branchings of the code, because I'm like, I don't know what the fuck is going on. And when you put breakpoints, it can change the timing of things, which then can make it so that the bugs don't happen. If there's like a multi
interesting.
timing, sometimes debugging can like make the problem disappear. But like you just put log lines everywhere. And then as soon as you get like the problem case, you like stop the program, look at the log, and like, what was the last few things?
Yeah,
you know, sometimes it'll hit like 1, 2, 3, 4, 27, 5, 6, 7. You're like, whoa, 27. Well, that's not supposed to be there. Like, why was that there? You know, but like, how hard would it be to figure out what the fuck is going on with the scavs when you have like binaural audio on and you have the really loud like and it like cuts out.
Yes.
Like, I would log or put breakpoints in all of the information in everywhere I could, all the inputs into, you know, inputs and outputs from Steam Audio, and figure out like, am I giving it bad info on the way in?
Yeah.
Or is it on the way out? You know, because then you can figure out if it's inside of Steam Audio's library, that maybe it's just a bug with Unity 2019 and Steam Audio. Or, I mean, it very well could be that when they turn on binaural audio and they enable Steam Audio, that they have to do additional processing. Or gathering information, because they now have to give something to Steam Audio so that it can process it. So maybe they're garbling it beforehand. So there's still code paths that you don't take when Steam Audio is enabled. So there's a distinction between, is it caused by Steam Audio, or does it only happen when Steam Audio is on?
Yes.
Now, from the end user's perspective, it's a bug when I check the box, and I get it. That's fine.
Sure.
But from a debugging standpoint, it's like, I'm willing to bet you that they're fucking something up before they give it to Steam Audio, or they're giving it information that they shouldn't give it, because you shouldn't be able to hear the thing halfway across the map or whatever.
That's so interesting. Yeah,
I don't know.
It's complicated,
but
it's deep.
I just wish that like I
had
access to the fucking code.
Please.
Because I love debugging shit. Like, was always my favorite thing. Whenever I'd start at a new software company, the first thing that they have you do is, because there's 10,000 files and a million lines of code in this big, massive software project, it's usually like, hey, we're going to pick the lowest priority bug that we have. Like, on this screen, there's a typo. Fix it.
Yeah.
And it would take anybody else 30 seconds to do, but you're like spending 20 minutes to try to figure out like, where are the UI, where are the files for the UI, for the menus, for the thing? Okay, well, it's this string. Okay, well, shit, now I need to find out where we put all the display strings. They're in some localization file for, English and whatever. So it's really good because it gets you in and start digging around in the code, so you start getting familiar. But that was one of the things that like I was really fucking good at. On like day one, I would have like 12 bugs fixed. Now they'd all be small bugs.
But you just picked it up quickly and easily.
Because like the principle of identifying problems and fixing them, it's a skill that's independent of language or architecture. Like, I've gone in and debugged code that I've never seen before in a language I've never written before. Because it's like, just finding where the problem is. And, and a lot of languages are pretty close together anyway, that it's not like, Latin and Russian and Chinese. You're shit out of fucking luck, if you don't know the language. Whereas, some languages are like var x equals 2. Some are int x equals 2. Some are, fucking $sign equals 2, or whatever, like a lot of other shit. But ultimately, it's all pretty straightforward. I I just have the fucking desire to so badly. Like,
just get in there and noodle around and learn
There are days where I'm like, I need to learn all of the things that hackers do to like decompile the game and do all this stuff just so I can help them. You know what I mean? Like,
let me help you.
Because they won't let me. Help me help you.
Help me help you. That's so funny.
Anyway.
Yep.
This meatball sub is not sitting well.
I feel, yeah. Yep. I feel
still feeling lugubrious.
Lugubrious. I couldn't remember the word. Lugubrious.
Yeah.
Yep. I mean, yeah, that's it for the most part. I did a video the other day about some of that stuff we were talking about with Deadly. My kind of like, I theory crafted out with chat what a world where single-use keys would look like. You know what I mean?
I have that in a tab. It's behind a bunch of internet historian videos that I've got queued up.
That's so funny.
So yeah, you come second to internet historian.
I should. So
good, dude. The other day I was watching one of the videos that I saw. Like, I'm watching a lot of like reruns.
Yeah.
Also, just because it's been so long, and I just love his content.
It's so good.
And his alt channel. It's crazy how his alt channel has 1 million subs and all his videos get like, that's just impressive.
Yep.
But I didn't realize he was like, one of the videos he has on his alt channel is, God, what is it? It's like something film festival rejects or whatever, where it's like he reads like you know, stories that people post up on Reddit, like they're fucking fan fictions or whatever, and one of them was like, you know, Timmy the Killer, or I don't know, it was like a creepypasta. I forget exactly what it was called, but he's like talking about all the people that are doing all the voices, and one of them was donut operators. Like, whoa, what the fuck? And I'm finding out like how many people know. Like, I found out that, I don't know, are you familiar with Leon Lush?
Yeah.
So I didn't know that Batty is like buddies with Leon Lush.
What?
And I didn't know that apparently internet historian and donut operator have some sort of connection. I'm like, dude,
what?
I need to figure out,
crazy.
Because like, I'm buddies with Donut, and I'm like, I'm only one thing removed from internet historian and one thing removed from, you know, it's like, fuck, Jesus.
That's insane.
Yeah.
It's all connected, man. The internet. It's all connected.
It's the 1 degree of Veritas.
Of Veritas. Yep. Yeah. But that makes sense. Watch those internet historian videos first. I mean, it was just basically just me theory crafting with chat. It was a good time.
Is there any way to like a brief summary of if the keys were one-time use, or
yeah? I mean,
it's
just the idea is right now they balance the loot inside rooms off of the available, like the access to that room, and like what if we did it the other way? Like, you know what I mean? If a key has 100 uses and 100,000 players have the key, then the room can't be too good because that's so many swipes, you know what I mean? And then there's just like loot everywhere. But what if we did it the other way? What if you balanced how rare a key spawns off of the loot in the room, and then that allowed us to buff the rooms? You know what I mean? What if marked room was insane? What if every marked room was like 4 fully modded guns, you know, maybe a LEDX, some treasure, more than you could take out?
Someone had to have said, well, then people just camp the room,
dude,
bro.
Yes. 100%. It was like a whole section of the video. It was a whole section of the video. Which
did you also say you'd have to limit it also on the flea market too? Because
the idea. So basically, it was step 1, make keys one-time use. Step 2, separate. And I was like asterisk here because we're going to talk about this later. Separate quests. Like, I think there's like 4 different things they could do to the quest, like you have me talking about, where it's like more of like the golden Zippo and the pocket watch and that kind of stuff. Like, what if certain quests, just like upon accepting the quest, therapist gave you a one-time use key? If it's just like go to 303 and get the water, you know what I mean? Or you could make those keys, which don't traditionally have loot in them, spawn more often, so it wasn't hard to get them, whatever. Like the customs key, the customs office key, you need that for some quests. It's not super common, but it's way more common than marked key, you know, stuff like that. But it's, step 1, make keys single, one use. Step 2, separate out quest keys. Step 3, no keys on the flea market, period. Step 4, buff the loot. Because then we went through a thing. I was like, okay, so if right now a marked key spawns one time in 100 raids, like 100 raids, one marked key will spawn. Like, let's say that's the math. One marked key is 25 uses. So I was like, okay, what if we made it spawn 25 times in 100 raids and made it single use? Well, now you would have more people gaining access to the key, and it would be less farmable by a small group of people that found the key early. And then I was like, but if we buffed the loot, we wouldn't want the same amount of swipes. We want less swipes. So what if it spawned 5 to 7 raids in 100, but it was like god tier dope loot? And I was like, basically the summary is I'd rather loot less locked rooms over the course of a wipe and know that they were great. You know what I mean?
There's nothing worse, dude, than opening the Marin trunk and it's empty.
100%. Or marked, and you get 46 PS rounds. You know what I mean? In marked room and stuff like that. And we talked a lot about how, like, the most valid counter arguments are that locked rooms are more... Like, there's people that were like, locked rooms are about the grind. You know what I mean? I want the Diablo where I run the same dungeon over and over again to find the thing. That's a very valid counter argument. That's just like you're looking at the game differently than I am, and I can't tell you that you're wrong. Maybe, you know what I mean?
That's a subjective.
Yes. And I was like, that's a great counter argument because, like, maybe you just enjoy, you know, power farming the shoreline to try and find good loot. And then the other very valid is that keys are more about PvP catalysts than the loot inside them. You know, marked is more about a reason to go dorms and fight people. And I was like, maybe that's the case too. I was just like, I'd rather loot this thing and be like, oh, hell yeah. You know what I mean? Like, and know that this is going to be cool. And there's enough locked rooms that if we increased all of their spawns a decent amount, you'd be finding way more keys. But you would almost feel like you're finding treasure upon treasure, but it would be less because you wouldn't be finding keys that have 100 uses or 25 uses or 50 uses. You'd be finding all these keys with one-time use. It might push people around maps. It gives more people access to things. You know what I mean? Because I was doing this live. I was like, Chad, how many people still haven't found a marked key? And it was just like...
I found one, and then I haven't found another one after that.
I found one last week. Geeks gave me one up 2 months ago. I found one marked key this swipe. And it was like...
Holy shit, I just realized I went through that. Like,
really?
I used it, and yeah.
I was like, imagine if everybody finds a marked key within the first few months, but you only get one shot. You know what I mean? Or you farm up a bunch of marked keys and then farm a bunch of customs today. You know what I mean? So it was... I mean, there was definitely a lot of choice, you know, comments like the camping thing, you know what I mean? And it's like, and somebody was like, impact nades, you know, stocks would skyrocket. I was like, if you go to Shoreline right now, every single locked key, every single locked room will be open by the end of that raid. If impact nade stocks were going to go up, they'd be up now. Pick a room, go there with an impact nade, pick a room and wait. Somebody's going there eventually. You know what I mean? This would actually make it less because nobody might have that key this rate. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
But I get it. I mean, it's once again, it's very subjective. It's one of those things, but I was like, to do my own form, I was like, listen, chat. I was like, we did this exact same thing, and I coined the term civilian flea 8 months ago, and look at us now. So I'm just saying, you know what I mean? Like, we're just talking here. But yeah, I mean, I just think like, I just came from that. It just came from like, I was playing and I looted something and it had absolutely nothing in it. And we were talking about how Red Room sucks, Ultramed sucks, Sanitar's room sucks. And it's like all these keys that are held in such high regard are terrible by the community. And so it's like a two-edged thing. The point is, one, wanting to find something that you know is treasure, and two, wanting to like prevent a small group of people being able to farm, because that's why the loot sucks, right? Like 2 wipes ago in Sanitar's room, you could find a LEDX almost every other swipe. But because early wipe, when only 7 people had that thing, they would just farm it. And then those 7 people get 60 LEDXs, and there's like this crazy imbalance to the economy. What if there's a LEDX in there every raid and a bunch of food and a bunch of drinks and a bunch of stims and a bunch of this? But if you find that key, it's like you get one shot, try and extract with it, and if you come out with all that stuff, sick. But you're not like now insanely higher level or have like a ton of extra money over somebody. Like, you got that, cool. You know what I mean?
I wonder if...
But it's very subjective for sure.
There's just so many things that are like, the game is made worse by BSG's response to things they don't want.
Yeah.
But it never fixes the thing they don't want.
Exactly.
It just affects everybody else. Like, we're going to make the rogues impossible because of the people that farm it, except nobody can do anything. Nobody can just play it normally except for the farmers.
Except for the people that farm it.
We're going to ruin the fucking loot, you know? So the one time that the poor Timmy with his marked key that he, you know, didn't make it out of the raid with, so it wasn't found in raid, so he couldn't put it on the flea market, you know, for something good. He goes in and he's unlocked the room fucking 57 times and always dies. The one time it's, you know, good, you know. But instead they have to make it so that it's literally never good. Because of the guy that fucking just has enough money to do like the black key card for a marked key trade every week, you know, because he's got infinite funds. And it would add to the unpredictability, because if you couldn't buy keys off the flea market, then when you find something, you're inclined to use it. You know, it was the same argument that was like a last wipe of Slick wasn't a Slick. A Slick was 800,000 rubles. It's the same thing right now. Like if I found Ultramed, if I found a red card, bro, there wouldn't even be a nanosecond of thought of, should I keep this? Absolutely not. It's money. That's all the red key card is. Oh God, don't remind me.
I know. I know. Like, just, I was actually gaming with Trey today, and he found he found a red key card on a cultist just in its backpack.
Fucking asshole.
I know.
Did he make it out of the raid with it?
Yeah, we made it. I ran and hit the power for him, and he made it out. He sold it for 52 million. The fee was 31.
But he paid 30. I was gonna say,
the fee was 31. But you know what I mean?
It's nice to have 31 million rubles.
So it's the same thing. You know what I mean? Imagine if you play throughout the wipe, if you're an average person that gets to like level 40 to 45 by the end of a wipe, imagine if almost every single one of those players found a red key card. But it was only one-time use. You know what I mean? So it was like, you might actually go labs now. You know what I mean? But it wouldn't break the economy, because you know what I mean? Because what breaks the economy is when 7 people have red key card, they farm labs over and over and over and over again, and they have all the best loot. That's what breaks the economy. If those guys can't farm it and you maybe go try it out, it's not like, you know what I mean? It would just, and then, because once again, it goes back to what we've talked about before, like what the game environment tells you, and then what your experience tells you. When you walk into Red Room, the most coveted key in the game, it's a 50 million ruble key. You gain access to it in a secret underground lab. You walk in and there are gun racks everywhere, and you find a stock MP5.
That would be nice. Dude, there are raids where I go in and the best thing in the whole room is a chainlet.
Yes. And so that's the environment telling you something than your experience. And everybody's like, oh, well, then just get good, get used to it. And it's like, but what if we didn't have to? What if we were able to reconstruct it in a way where the environment and your experience matched up? Imagine going in there and even with a raid bag, not being able to, you find, because guns are a thing. Like, you could put 14 guns in that room and nobody would say that room's broken. You put 2 LEDXs in the room and everyone would say the room's broken, right? I'm not just talking about put GPUs and LEDXs in, like environment.
No,
you walk in,
5 mannequins with level 5 armor and 6 guns. And
that would be a sick room.
They can't sell them on the flea market,
exactly.
So it doesn't even affect the economy.
It doesn't affect the economy. You go in there and you maybe find a Bitcoin or a GPU, but 3 guns, 2 gazelles, a bunch of good ammo. You can't sell any of that on the flea. It still feels sick to get. And then you also maybe get your rare thing, like a Ledi or a GPU that you maybe make some money out of. And it's like, then the environment gets to match the experience, and that would be a freaking fun thing to do. Instead of you deciding to keep a 50 million ruble key to yourself, walking in and getting chainlets and feeling like that sucks. You know what I mean? And and that's everywhere. There's Sanitar's room should have meds flowing out of it. There's a bunch of shoreline rooms, a bunch of reserve rooms that have gun racks, that the best thing you can get is a stock 74U, UB or whatever. You know what I mean? It's just like, but they can't, with 100 use keys, they can't bump the loot up too much, because then the YouTube video would come out on this new farming route. Imagine if the farming route, here's the thing, if my idea was true, you know what the farming route would be? Go play the game and loot things. Search jackets, kill scavs, and loot them. That would be the farming route to amass keys.
Yeah.
Loot filing cabinets, loot jackets, kill scavs.
You farm to get the key, and then the key is a one-time thing,
yes.
rather than just buy the key and
then farm it. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would also,
like
part of the thing was I would say remove all static spawns for keys, unless they're required for like quests or something like that. Like there shouldn't be a specific place for a red card, because then that would exactly happen. People would just farm it, work up to like 20 or 30 red cards and then go. If it's, you know, the rarity is different across all keys, but where those keys are found are the same places, which are, you know, scav bosses should have a higher percent chance. Once again, you can then use this, and you can then use the good loot that's at the other end of the thing to bait people into engaging with the game. You know, put the scav bosses, have them have a higher percent chance for the higher keys. You know what I mean? Now people are engaging with the game. They're going and fighting scav bosses. They're encountering PvP along the way. They're fighting scavs and looting their pockets. They're playing the game, and they're not just like SJ6ing to 218 to hope there's a red card and then dipping. You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, man.
It just feels, I just don't know. It just feels like it would be fun and rewarding.
I'm with you. That sounds dope. I just checked, and there's a guy selling. He's bartering was a 98 water filters for a red key card, which seems to be it's the most expensive one.
Really?
But I think the real most expensive one is there's a 50 pack of graphics cards
for a red.
Yeah, dude,
does it actually say 50 pack?
Yep. Yeah, there's a 50 pack, a 44 pack, a 40 pack, a 30 pack. And then there's like a 6-pack of military power filters, and then the next one down is 77 LEDX, but it's 77 individual.
Oh, those guys are so dirty, bro.
And then after that, it's 33 individual graphics cards, 15 graphics cards. Holy shit, there's one guy who has 148 graphics cards. His name is I Want Red Card LOL. What a douche.
What a douche.
But, oh, God. Especially because the day I decided to use my red card was also the day I'm like, fuck it, I'm just gonna build the Bitcoin farm. It just so happened that and then it was like, oh, now I realize I should have. At the time, the best thing was, it was 30 graphics cards, so that would have been 15-ish million rubles.
Yeah.
And I wish I'd taken that.
Yeah.
Now this is a 50 pack.
Which is like 25 million rubles.
Which is,
once again, the same tray made selling it for cash after the fee, and you would have just had all the GPUs you needed. You know what I mean? Bro, go cultist farming. We played.
I still haven't seen cultists. I've encountered cultists 3 times since they've been added to the game.
Bro, me too, by the way. Customs. Me and Trey played customs. Every time it was night, we were playing night customs. Our first 5 raids, cultists spawned 4 of them, 4 times, and all 4 times we wiped them, and got out with all their knives. And he found a red and defenders and slicks. It was insane. And then throughout the day, I think we played 12 raids and got them 6 times. It says on the wiki their spawn chance is 27%, but we were getting them non-stop today. It was
on
crazy.
Customs night time?
Customs night. They only spawn in one spot.
Is it by Fortress?
It's you know, the by Crack House. You know, Elbow and those, it's like Elbow, Crack House, and the Hole. They spawn there by those connexes and stuff like that. They are terrifying. They make no noise, and they are terrifying. But literally, that's the only place they spawn.
Are they like OP broken? Because they fucked me up. They shot me every time.
They're broken.
Like they were like rogues.
They're very broken. The strat, it's the rogue thing. The strat we did was we would try to see if they were there. Like wherever we spawned, we would try to like identify if they were there via a long range scope, or like trying to like jumping and peeking over the fence and you can see them. And if they're there, we move all the way around and come from Fortress side. And you know how you can like open the garage with the truck and you can like go under the truck. Okay.
With that like little thing that goes up and there's the toolbox.
So you can come in from the back side of that, open the door, close it behind you, and you basically just play the right side peek game, because then now from the other door, you're looking into Elbow where those connexes are, and shoot them. And
are you doing the like incremental lean?
Yeah, because like there's almost always going to be one out in the middle.
Have to bind that. I unbound that.
Yeah,
for whatever reason, so I can't do it.
So you kind of incremental lean. If you see one of them, bop them in the head. Now they all go aggro, and they'll either try and like push up to you, or they'll wrap around to the door that you can open and then close. So we'd close it behind us, and
you'd see their arm push through the door before the door would open.
The whole body would push through as the door's opening. It would rubber band back, and then two of them would come in.
And you guys are just like fucking at the hot, like the 300 at the hot gates.
Yeah, dude, 100%, 100%.
The fucking Persians, dude.
And then normally the last one will find a bush and just lay prone, and then you have to go out of there. Once you've killed 4 of them, you have to go out and find the last one.
Do they all have knives?
They all can have knives. We've cleared them and gotten 5 knives, and then sometimes it's like 3. Sometimes they just have a regular knife. They can spawn with the taiga melee weapon, which is the most like valuable to sell in the flea market melee weapon in the game. They can spawn with a taiga. The priest guy, his pockets can spawn crazy keys. I've seen green cards. I've seen blue cards. This was just one of the sectant, one of the goons, had a mechanism bag, and in it was a red key card.
All right, I think I might do some fucking Zero Dark 30.
Bro, it was fun.
GPNBG roleplay raids.
What's fun is that if when they're not there, they the PvP is dope because everybody's farming. So like if you're staying frosty with the PvP, you can walk out of there with like 4 sets of quad nods. So it's like when they're not there, you get dope loot, and when you're there, you get dope loot.
And I have a feeling that like I don't think a lot of cheaters are gonna go in like night raids. Like they're all farming the easy shit.
Yeah, we didn't have any.
It didn't feel like sketchy.
We didn't have any sketchy stuff because once again, like you're saying, the cultists don't always spawn. So like you might go 6 raids in a row and not get them. So like if you're a cheater, that's like lame. But like we got really lucky and then got really good PvP. And we were just like I just ran out of room in my stash with like defenders, and I got like an olive slick and Korans and BP ammo, and it was fun. It was the most fun. Today was the most fun I'd ever had engaging with the cultists, for sure. Normally they are broken and I hate it. They would be so much more fun if they tried to stab you more, and if there was more than just one way to engage them. Same with the rogues. That's the way though. Play that little building, and if they're there, it's fun. It's fun as junk.
All right, well, I'll give that a try, I think, for the rest of the night.
Yeah. But yeah, that's about it. That's Tarky. We got a little patch. We got some stuff. We'll see. Nikita's been teasing out on his Twitter some new podcasts soon, some Tarkov TV Live, so maybe we'll get some actual info from them soon. But yeah, it's good times. Tarkov's been feeling good, man. It's been feeling good. It's just those same things. Just audio and AI, but we're so close, man. It's been fun. The economy's been feeling better. It's all moving in a better direction. The metas have been feeling better. A lot more SR25s and SMGs, more situational guns. The PvP's been feeling good. More of the maps feel good. It's just been we're not there yet, but we're moving in the right direction. So it's been a fun week at Tarkov. But yeah, so thank you guys for hanging. A lot of people hanging out tonight. As usual, this will be live early next week. I have had countless people come in and say that the one with Deadly was one of their favorite episodes. So maybe we'll.
I have to say I'm biased, but it was my favorite one.
Yeah, dude, it was so much fun. So maybe we'll try and get somebody on like once a month or something like that. You know what I mean? Just to spice things up. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging with us, and we will definitely see y'all on the next one.
Peace.